Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another day in West Europe here. We're going to be chugging on through the play-ins to the quarterfinals, and it's myself, Exner. I'm joined here by the lovely B-Dog right beside me, and very excited to get into this matchup. Get to see more of 500, one of our invited teams, taking on a fresh-looking Endpoint. B-Dog, it's going to be an exciting matchup, man. What do you think of it?
Yeah, look, it's very interesting. I think first off, it's exciting to be back with you, man. It's been way too long since we've been on a cast together. But 500 endpoint, it's super interesting, right? Because 500, you know what to kind of expect out of these guys. I think what we could do is just take a look at the rosters. I think that's kind of the best way to kind of gauge this. So we could bring up 500's roster. We can kind of have a chat through because for me, what's super interesting is that these guys are just so consistent. Rainwaker is a fantastic player just to have. I think he is one of the most reliable, if not. Do you know what? I'm going to go and say it. The one of the most dependable riflers in the tier 2 scene. I honestly have got a lot of stock in him. I think he's fantastic. Nikki, by the way, has just been performing out of this world. I don't know what it is. I think I watched them in a best of 3 against 9 in the North Europe series. Um, it was just they were absolutely phenomenal. Kip's Nikki performing exceptionally well. You get what you get with these guys. You know you're going to get a lot of explosive firepower. Denny on the AWP as well could always win a round if he feels like it. And yeah, I think these guys are just on the up.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Right, their floor is so very high that they don't really stumble. I mean, yes, they're always going to be a strong team, but I think they're always a team that's going to make some deep runs in playoffs here. And I 100% agree with you. You know what you're going to get. The consistency is there. They've been building upon it. Now they need to work, I think, a little bit on their ceiling. I think that's the key here because if they can start to reach the peaks for this roster, they have that consistency. They have that, ability to, deliver every single best of three. They just need to work on actually getting some, deeper runs, getting to the grand finals of these events, locking in even events in total, right? They want to be coming into this one expecting to win, and I think that's in their mindset right now. I think that's in their ability, right? But we'll see what they're able to do because they're up against some pretty sharp opponents here. I will say over on Endpoint, right? These guys obviously putting in a lot of work here together, looking pretty good in the Swiss stage coming on through here. So yeah, again, going through a lot of chops and changes here. We're gonna go ahead and pull up the Endpoint roster there if we've got it. But I've been really excited to see, what these guys are going to be looking like here, and with a little bit of a difference in roster, making it 3-1. They were able to take down teams like Nexus, who I think have been performing quite nicely. Obviously, maybe not in this event in particular, but they still made it through the playoffs. So I'm excited to see Endpoint come through here, looking confident, making it into the playoffs here, and getting some good use out of Fesser here as well, which. Obviously, I think Nerds was a huge loss for them, but if they're able to bounce back, they can really bring in some decent energy here.
Yeah, I think the conversation point for Endpoint is the fact that Nertz was such a spearhead of this entire organization. Now he's left, you brought in Fessor, and that suggests to me a different direction in which Endpoint wants to take the roster because Fessor is not a like-for-like swap for Nertz. He won't be playing in the same star rifle roles, won't be having the same impact as Nertz did because pound for pound, they are just not the same player. And what that indicates to me is that Endpoint are now going to rely and probably go back to what they originally were anticipating with their squads, which was kind of have more of a kill distribution across the entire roster. If I'm being honest, I think the key to Endpoint unlocking like a new ceiling, maybe like a new level to their gameplay, is really utilizing MHL. I think he is a very exciting AWPer in the space, and he's actually in our head-to-head up against Rainwaker. 1.18 rating over the last couple of months is fantastic. This guy, for me, he is the best player on Endpoint, period. Um, and I think if Max can utilize him in a way and MHL can feel settled and feel more comfortable in Max's call-in, then this team could become very scary.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Right, the MHL brings a great depth of opping into this team, so I'm really excited to see him. We're just gonna have to excuse those bells there. They're going off. They're going crazy. It's noon here over in the States, so we're going crazy here. But all that being said, like you said, MHL, he's able to deliver such a consistent opping ability. He's
Yeah.
always going to be landing some shots. He can get activated early, and like you said, I think that in terms of like the entry frags here, maybe more focus is going to be put on MHL, because like you said, Fester isn't the same aggressive element that Nerds is going to be to this team. I'm also going to be setting my sights towards Heavy God here. He plays some incredibly difficult roles for the team.
Yeah.
Some of the worst in the game, right? Over in the B anchoring and some of these maps like Mirage. So he's left into a difficult position where he has to kind of fill the shoes of Nerds just a little bit, and I'm wondering if they're going to set their sights towards him because he does have some really good mechanics. His stats maybe not showing it in the same way because of the positions that he plays on the map, but if he's able to maybe switch things up, maybe Fester takes more of those roles. I think Heavy God could be another player that's going to help out in that sense, maybe distributing the load of Nerds' like entry impact there throughout the team, which I think could maybe let them level up a little bit more consistency.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we could take a look at the map pool as well, to kind of see what we're coming up against. Okay, interesting for me, and I really like this from 500. They've actually not gone for the overpass pick because Endpoint have won every overpass game they've played the past 8 times. They've looked really formidable on it. I thought when you take a look just at this veto in general, a lot of the win rates are very similar, which means that you can kind of pick into whatever you're feeling comfortable with on the day. And Endpoint of I think they've played the advantages. They think that they've got a slight edge on Mirage, so they've gone for that. Ancient, I think it's a similar story for 500. Although that one is split down the middle. That's a straight 50-50. So that could be really explosive. Endpoint for me have been looking a little bit shaky on it, which is why I think 500 might have utilized it. And at the side of Overpass, if we get there, that's going to be really exciting because I value 500 as like one of the best overpass teams in tier 2,
Yeah.
but the fact that Endpoint are on 100% is phenomenal.
Yeah, if we do get to a decider there, that's going to be definitely the map to watch right there, just given the strength of these two teams and how they've been looking on this map. So I'm really excited for this veto. I think both teams have some relative strengths, getting both, obviously, the Vertigo ban coming through as 500's perma, but also that later on nuke ban is going to be a little bit valuable for them. So there's some good sites in both camps, and if you're Endpoint there, you're really looking to capitalize maybe on those first two. You have that decided to look forward to. You have that confidence, but I feel like both map picks here, it's just completely up in the air, right?
Yeah.
500 picking into Mirage is going to be really interesting, or Endpoint rather picking into Mirage is going to be really interesting because 500 are willing to play that a lot, but it's also like a super strong map for Endpoint. So I feel like this could end 2-0. I expected to go the third map, but it's like I don't think that these map picks in general are like a lock-in for either team either. So it's always interesting to see that in a best of 3 as well.
Yeah, I think look, if we take a look just kind of the caliber of teams that Endpoint have been losing to on Ancient as well, right? They lost to Sinners 16-6, Mouse NXT 16-8. It's been wildly inconsistent, and 500 come into this on a 3 map winning streak after beating Sprout 9 and Astralis Talent. And I throw Astralis Talent in there because they won CCT North Europe Series 4, so they're definitely not a team to be overlooked. And they ran close against Aurora as well, 16-14. So I think for me, this should be a 500 map. I understand why they've picked it. Endpoint, they've got a tough task on their hands here. Mirage, I think, should go Endpoint's way, but I think it also depends heavily on how much of a landslide Ancient potentially could be for 500. And I feel like momentum definitely could be a factor heading into the series.
Yeah. I mean, again, 500 looked really strong there in their North Europe bout. I was getting to cast a little bit of them going on through there. I did watch that Astralis Talent game, and Astralis Talent, man, they looked incredible there, so you can't really blame them for losing, especially on Anubis. That was one thing I was really looking towards in this series. Was Anubis going to be picked out there potentially by Endpoint as like an opportunity to punish pick, but not the case in this one here. We won't be seeing that, but Ancient is a real strong suit for these guys, so like you said, it's definitely going to be something they're looking forward to. So do have news for you all, though. We are waiting on one more player to join up in the server. We'll be tossing it to a quick break, but once we come back, we will be hopping on into Ancient, guys. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll have some Counter-Strike coming right up. And here we are. Map number 1. We said it. Hopping right into some of the action here. As 500, they're favored in the 1xbet odds there. At the top of your screen, you can go check that out at cct.gg/1xbet. But we'll see if Endpoint have a little bit more of a fight here with some of the fresh changes that they've made here and a fresh take in towards that A bomb site. Not a lot of resistance met here. It's just Rainwaker taking a more passive angle. We'll see if he's able to pluck anyone off here. Maybe deny a bomb plant. He can't do that, but he will take one down there. Fester going to drop there. Now we're into a 4v5 in the post plant situation here. There is a kit. There is a smoke. We'll see if that can come into play here.
Yeah, this actually feels quite difficult for Endpoint because there's just so many players. That smoke's now been dropped on. Patrick's just taking fights. Okay, that's Donut now cleared out. Suddenly, you're thrown into this 2 versus 2, but it doesn't even matter because 500 have been sticking the bomb the entire time. Shout out Patrick. The fact that he just runs in, just almost not carelessly, but he just doesn't have a care in the world in towards Donut and just finds 2 headshots immediately is ridiculous.
That is like the one way that they lose that round is by not taking any fights there while the diffuser is going on. If they were all just like standing passively by there, letting them spam through smoke, that's like the easy way to lose the retake. So you do need some of that proactivity, like you said. Just not a care in the world there for Patrick, able to land 2 crispy headshots. That's great stuff. But of course, a bomb plant here, not a huge investment around this, which is interesting to see, right? Typically, you get the Galeals out here and now, but they're going for just Deagles. You have Armor and MHL and Heavy God here. This is the Endpoint Classic, setting up some of your individuals to get a lot of damage done. Heavy God certainly could wield the Deagle, but no luck here. Not in this round, at least. Ship's going to take care of that. And it's going to lead the rest of Endpoint up the ramp on B side.
Yeah, this is interesting as well, because this is 500 pick, but Endpoint decided to start on T side. So we'll see if that comes back to bite them or help them out later down the line. Nikki now trying to step in with the M4, but again, it's Patrick always taking the first contact. That's a bit of a mess. And somehow MHL and Fessa have found some more kills. Doesn't amount to too much in the end, but it's still damage, and it's a bomb plant for Endpoint.
Whew, that's right there, man. That was a bit shaky, like you said. A bit of a mess, but they'll shake that one off. They'll still win the round, but if you're Endpoint, you're kind of considering that mission accomplished. You got 3 kills and a bomb plant, but like you were saying here, it's a really interesting decision. I'm struggling to get like a perfect read on this map right now in terms of the sidedness. I still think it's CT sided, but it's difficult. Sometimes you see some really convincing T sides out of teams, and you're just left wondering, what exactly is this? Endpoint used to be incredible on this map. I think it was largely utilized inerts and some of the magic mollies that you could throw off towards middle. He was a menace in middle. He would run out middle 15 rounds in a row and entry like maybe 10 of them. So it was a huge asset, and they're no longer wielding that asset. And I wonder if that's going to be still part of the game plan or if they've changed things up. Heavy God tries for the entry in this occasion, but does get bested by Dennis Ball. A bit of a missed molly there, but still he finds a second. He can't get out of dodge, but 2-for-1 trade. It sets in enough hesitation here for 500 to, or rather Endpoint, to start rerouting.
Yeah, but take a look at all the map control that 500 have. Like Nikki in particular here, Surreal has got no idea. And the fact that ships can just swing for free in towards mid is just really difficult. Endpoint trying to hit a time in there over towards A. It just doesn't work out at all. Denny finding 2 kills is massive before he goes down. And that's your gun round. That was what was brought to the table almost as kind of the start of a resurgence for Endpoint. And it's just a contact play out A. It really gets shut down way too easily for my liking. And from there, 500 are just feeling so comfortable.
Yeah, that was a really strong round right there. Rainwaker able to take care of Fester towards mid. Right now, Nikki cleans things up as well towards Donut. This time, had a bit of a rocky start with that early spray, but he has looked sharp here on out. It's a Tech 9 on towards the B bomb site, though. They are losing a little bit of ground here. Mighty Max has picked himself up an AK. We'll see if he can be a bit of a hero here. I said he's going to prioritize the bomb site, but no, he gets off of it, and Nikki's going to put him down. I guess money's not the biggest of deal. They do have that max loss bonus, or at least nearing it. So looking for those kills, looking to actually win the round right there for Mighty Max makes a bit of sense. And 4-0 start here. You said at the beginning of this game, you know, how much damage can Endpoint do, right? Because we're kind of considering this, you know, it's a real strong suit for 500. Again, back in the day, Endpoint, they used to be really good, but they've obviously gone through a fundamental shift. So they're still looking for an identity. But how strong can 500 really show on their own map pick? And will that factor into the next map here, depending? So this time, Mighty Max able to nail the opening pick down towards middle, but there is a trade instantly.
Oh, Vessel keeps on going. See, Vessel will do this a lot. Vessel's more than happy to kind of play the star player's role in just swinging out mid and trying to take these fights. Nikki wants to give it a go as well, and that molly actually enticed him to throw a HE, and that's to his demise. MHL peeking on the angle out at elbow. And this is much better for Endpoint. It is a bit of a head-on collision in towards middle, but the fact that they pump the brakes, they slow down and wait for 500 to overstep, get a little bit too curious, and really try and trade back. Well, I was going to say could be their downfall. It is still a 2 versus 3. Heavy God now making noise on A. It's going to bring Denny's attention over. The real hit, it's going to be over towards B. How much can Patrick find here? Oh.
No way. Oh, left it a little too long there. Now the op's going to trade things out quickly, but it has bought time. Denislav pops a shot off. Maybe needed to connect that for a comfortable chance at winning the round here. Could have dropped the bomb. Now he has to beeline it in towards that A bomb site here. And flashed up. Oh, wow, that one connected perfectly. Heavy God. Perfect flashbang right there. Now the covering here. But oh, both oppers miss. And Denislav stuck into way too many angles. Heavy God's going to dispatch of that. And Endpoint off to the races here on that second gun round. Very strong stuff coming through. Like you said, head-on collision towards middle. This time, Mighty Max able to open up proceedings, but standing behind him is Fesser, who trades things out, keeps things level, and then MHL has even further coverage. So, again, I mean, I was talking about it here. Big game plan for Endpoint was sending nerds to the wolves towards middle if he had the spawn. This time, they actually do distribute that entry load to 3 different players there to fight for that control. And I think that's, you know, partially having nerds on the team was an asset there, but also the way the map has shifted, you do need a lot more resources to take care of that map control there. Again, there's no more of those donut magic mollies that you could throw out. So you need to actually have more players there to trade things out, more utility, all that.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the Endpoint default as well. It's very much Heavy God gets space over towards A, and it reminds me a lot of Palace on Mirage. When he feels like it's the right moment, he can just creep out and try and take space. Endpoint are really putting a high prioritization on mid, and it is working out. Ships dealt with, Rainwaker on the angle. Will trade out Fessor, but now this is potentially where Heavy God feels like he can make his move. Flashbang in, keeping attention. Mighty Max actually hits the trade. It goes back and forth so frequently here. It's quite worrying. Endpoint need to gather, execute a bomb site together. That's what they're doing right now over towards B.
Yeah, they've done a great job of pulling attention towards middle, towards that A bomb site. But now they're telegraphing this A side. Now all you have to do if you're Nikki is stay alive here, buy some time. They haven't smoked off that long side, but now Patrick's being covered by the op, and no one's going to clear this corner until it's too late. Now Nikki can strike 2 kills with the MP9 and MHL. That was a triangulated setup. He has to break past with the NOP, and that is a bit of a nightmare for him. 15 seconds. Maybe it's best to bail. And that's what he's going to do here. Back down the ramp. His exit is safe. But an excellent recovery there from Nikki with the MP9, man. That's a difficult round to guard if you're Nikki right there. High pressure. Tucking yourself in the corner. You have to strike at the perfect time, and he did perfectly.
Yeah, that's so frustrating if you're Endpoint, because it feels like you've played that round well, because you've applied pressure out towards middle, you've shown skin at A, and then you group, you get ready to execute, and you overlook one corner. And that's your downfall. Also, what's interesting is just typically Endpoint have not been fighting in towards Shelf or Cave at all. They've been really leaving it open, which is just really interesting to me. Like, you don't see that at all. MHL, well, of course, he saved the AWP, but now the rest of his team are just completely covered in deagles. That's it. That's so difficult for a round to win. MHL needs to be the player to start kind of breaking open this contact.
He's definitely going to need to do a lot of heavy lifting in this round in particular. A lot of pistols stand beside him, so he's going to need to break through, and he lands a shot. Fortunate that was a bit of a tag there as Nicky goes for a repeat here. Feeling very comfortable, but maybe he shouldn't be. He is getting pressured on end. Patrick stands beside him, but oh my goodness. Mighty Max deletes one. The smoke will isolate MHL from his teammates, though, and it very quickly becomes a bit of a sour round towards the tail end. MHL I'll have to get his boots wet. Not quite. Sticks around for a little while longer here. The key is Dennis Law, or other ships, is the one closing in on him. Especially don't want to give that op over to, a potential double up on this CT side, right? Usually your A player will just post up at that point on the A bomb site, and it's very hard to crack through if you're not able to catch him off guard or anything like that. 20 seconds left on this round. They wait things out. Maybe they could just collapse. The money's not built up, though, high enough from 500 to really send too many resources that way. Maybe ships in first, and then you'll see what happens. Rainwaker's lining up a pop flash for him as well.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, he's going to do it. Fantastic. MHL gets traded out.
After time? Yes.
Oh, no. That's worst case scenario. Yeah, that's really difficult. Ball's coming in. Yeah, probably at the right time. Discuss finances for MHL, but also just to kind of figure out what's going wrong. I think it's so difficult to play against a team that can quickly turn one kill into about 3 in an instant. Because that's what happens there. Endpoint get the opening kill, and then that one smoke, it was really well timed from Patrick. It completely splits them up, as you were saying, and yeah, it's just Eagles and an AWP, but it still really hurts. Because now you're just left a Tech 9 on what once was a sniper. You're looking at 5 rounds down already on the CT side of Ancient, when the T side timings are inherently supposed to be a little bit faster. And Endpoint are even finding an opening in a lot of these rounds, and they're still not converting the 4 versus 5.
Yeah, I'm not fully sold on this mid control. I think that there's still a chance for Endpoint to take advantage of that weakness. And Besser, as I say that, able to open things up. Right now, it seems like they're kind of leaving those resources a little bit out to try. How did that molly even? I feel like that's one of those mollies that shouldn't have extinguished right there. Fully, at least. Patrick lucky to walk away with his life. MHL, though, is going to find Nicky, and is that straight through smoke? I believe it was. I think he just peppered him on in. Rainwaker's going to pull things back towards the middle here, but they have 2 opening picks right now, right? This, in theory, it's got to be enough for you to take it the extra edge here. Execution lining in towards that B-bomb site. Denizla not fully fleshed out by the molly, though. There it is. Start to pressure him even further. He's still in the wide open, though, right now. That HE sinks on in. Patrick gets finished off there. The molly starts. HE will finish, and this is a great reposition here from Endpoint. They're going to start making their moves on in towards the A-bomb site. That should take care of that.
Yeah, this was a really good round from Endpoint. This is the best one they've played all half. They're waiting for aggression. They find it not once, but twice. One out through middle from Fessor, one pushing B ramp from MHL. And then they reset. They apply pressure. They bring rotates over towards B. Then they let Heavy God work. He takes all the space. He finds out all the information. Nothing's really contesting me here. Not really too sure what's going on. Feels a little bit dangerous over towards B. So everyone resets. They group up as a unit and execute A. And 500, or all they can do is really just save. It is a fantastic round from Endpoint, and we need more like it. It can't just be one round here or there, because otherwise they're going to get steamrolled. It needs to be in succession. And that bomb radius is wild. I died I want to bring this up now because of the bomb radius, Carl. I died yesterday. I was playing a pug on Ancient. The bomb was planted on B site. I had 4 HP, no armor. I died in A temple.
I haven't played Ancient in a while. Right now, my map pool is Dust 2, Mirage, and Vertigo.
Wow. 2 out of 3 that are
So
horrible.
that's the holy trinity for me.
No, that's not the Holy Trinity.
So, Ancient's not a part of that for me. I'm not a big fan. It's just too. I feel like visibility's all out of whack for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not. I'm not a big fan. I need the dusty, like the kind of whitish backgrounds. That's why Vertigo is such a good map. Easy to see everything. Ancient, you get in towards those cave positions. Like, where are the CTs? You're staring right at them, but you can't see them. It's no good.
The real Holy Trinity is Vertigo, Ancient Anubis.
Wow. Look at this mid control though. Again, it's
Fantastic.
so easy for Fessor to just take it apart right now. He is doing exactly what Nerds was able to do. And he's got a little setup there. Heavy got throwing in some excellent utility. 2 perfectly placed flashes from Heavy God, man. That makes Fessor's job so easy. But it feels like it's a little too easy. 500, they don't have any resistance here. They don't have anyone playing dodge flash. They don't have any early utility to dispatch it, right? They're throwing some mollies, but you can't just throw a molly, right? They're just going to smoke that out.
Look at the flank.
Oh, wow.
Heavy God must have communicated this to his team. And Jet, MHL is just about going to slip the net.
Wow.
And now look at Fessor holding. Never mind. It gets dealt with by Denny. MHL finds ships that was really aggressively pushing 4 versus 2. And you haven't really got any money here for 500. Well, and you also haven't got Patrick. Need to save this if you're Denny.
100%. That's a great look right there from Endpoint. Perfect reposition once again back towards that A-bomb site here. They are running the same plays back here. Sending Fessor out towards middle. He finds a lot of space, a lot of ground. He's finding 2 kills in that round. I mean, that should have just won it right there 100%. And the little extra edge that they're doing, because like you had said there earlier, what 500 were doing really well is that some of these rounds, they aren't starting their way. They're not favoring them at the early stages. They've been starting off with a lot of 4v5 deficits, but they're so good at pulling things back. They're so good at stacking their resources correctly. And now we're seeing the adjustment here come through from Endpoint, and they're, in the mid round starting to target that A-bomb site rather than just running it up B like they've been doing. And I feel like that's what the doctor ordered right there for them. My question is, now what is going to be the reply from 500, right? Because now they're conceding rounds. Their economy's broken, but they've got to realize, we got to shut down Fessor here. He's getting away with too much towards middle.
I feel like what I was super impressed with from Heavy God in that round was not only did he throw the original flashbangs to set up Fessor in mid, his understanding was, well, look, we've actually got no one out towards A here. 500 could push. He sat in spawn. This is getting a little bit scary, actually, so we'll come back to that, because it is now 4 versus 3. Okay, Vessel makes it even, but Rainwaker on the USP. Suddenly, Heavy God, Mighty Max in a situation where it could get even worse. Although, I say that, they clear it up. Everything's okay, crisis averted, but how it becomes a 2 versus 2 is beyond me.
Yeah, that was a bit wild right there. I felt like maybe that should have even been converted there. A little bit too lackadaisical in the 3v2, but they were trying to take some space. You could see them just jumping around the corner for Rainwaker. He got that valuable information, and then they walked right into the last 2 players. It felt like, maybe they could have prepared themselves, but I don't think the communication was there in time. I think they were a little too quick on the trigger there, Endpoint, and they got away with it. Back with this mid control, and back with a lot of pressure, but this time Rainwaker is able to deal with Fessor. I mean, I didn't see any big changes in the way that they were holding off that mid setup, but this time they get away with it, and this time they're able to land that opening pick instead of losing it. But there we go. Mighty Max lines up too, and we're kind of right back to where we started.
Flashbang. They are perfect in middle. And look at Denny. Oh my god, why are you being so aggressive? But it might work! No, but not quite. Mighty Max will secure it, as so often he should, but Denny's Law is just that potent. Nikki now waiting, see if MHL tries to cross in towards middle. Should have been more of a freebie than that. 1 versus 3 now turned into just the double up for Endpoint. Nikki will be going for this. Barreling his way through, but not ready for Mighty Max on long.
It's so easy right there. Mighty Max with a beautiful 4K. Lines up the 2 players aggressing towards short. Because, I mean, honestly, he was so prepared for them to aggress up short. That's the key detail. Once you realize that there's 2 players towards middle called out by Fesser, you know that the next avenue of approach here, the next priority here for 500 is that short control, taking that ground, and Mighty Max just held his crosshair, trained, and part of every kill in that round as well. He even throws the one perfect flashbang for middle to close out that round, and he got 4 kills in it total. So beautiful stuff from him. This Heavy God dispatches of ships early. Might just look to burn it on in towards that A-bomb site here. There's a lot more presence around it, but look at this little late flank from Fesser here. He runs out middle perfectly timed with the A aggression, and now he's going to have 2 backs turned.
Yeah, he heard it all as well. And that's his prize, 2 quick kills. Now, Endpoint know that the stack's here, and they still want to fight anyway, fair enough. Rainwaker in Temple. You've even got a flank on from Surreal. I'm going to say Rainwaker should have just been put down by MHL there, but actually, Rainwaker, this is becoming dangerous. Again, another eco round that really shouldn't be dangerous at all, and yet it's 3 kills. It is damaging the economy a little bit further. I mean, Mighty Max isn't going to complain. He's on $10,000, but it does add up. And Rainwaker, that was just unbelievable. I just don't know how he gets 2 there.
Yeah, I mean, that's some mechanical ability that we're talking about out of these guys. They just need to formulate a consistent defense here. Again, Fesser out middle. This time, Rainwaker again able to play the dodge flash. Able to avoid it here. Now Fesser is getting sent into the Wolves at this point. They're starting to land some decent adjustments here. But Surreal pulls it right back here. The advantage doesn't last too long.
The ship
Now
saw
this
him.
flank. Oh, yeah. He's going to take advantage of this. Surreal, it's going to be hard to anticipate a flank, but he's going to get himself in towards safety. No, he has utility out. That's going to cost him. Trade could come through for Mighty Max. Dink, it's good damage there on the way out for ships, but still a 3v3 maintained.
I've just seen ships constantly buying the MP9 as well. Like, he's always
Ships
been
and
on
Nikki.
it feels like. Yeah.
Those two.
USP? Sure. And look at the rotation as well. This is not looking good for Endpoint.
Oof. Nikki gets to cut off Heavy God there. This is MHL not able to have his say in the round just yet. Now he's smoked off. There's a slight gappage he can take advantage of. Ooh, especially if they walk right around. Needed that one. If they wanted to win this 1v3, needed that kill. Unfortunately, it doesn't come his way. And that's going to cost him. 500, they maintain the lead. But, again, there's some strength here, right? If Ships isn't getting that flank off and getting a huge performance on that second dink, and we don't see that level of proactivity, Endpoint, I still think that they're so capable of pulling back things.
Yeah, it's very interesting watching the game because 500 know that they need to be proactive in order to disrupt the tempo of Endpoint, but it's just about timing and when that's correct. Gibbs this time finds Heavy God. That's a perfect opening. Vessel starts to work his way out middle, but he's not being challenged this time around. It'll be interesting to see how much space he can find. Looks like he's going in towards Donut to actually meet Ships, who was holding for him, but that was perfect.
Very clean headshot there, and Surreal tries to land the trade onto Nikki, but isn't able to get away with it. Nikki gets out of dodge here, repositions Rainwaker further, putting pressure in Patrick. Now he has the perfect angle to get away with some frags here. We'll deal with one. Nice aggression comes through on Surreal in the trade, but he's still left into a 1v2. Trying to get those numbers punched in. That HE sinks a little bit too deep. And Rainwaker's already around the corner here. Bomb being planted, but spotted out. He denies the bomb plant. Actually denies a healthy bit of economy there for Endpoint as well for the last round of the half. And a chance for 500 to take a little bit of extra edge and momentum into this next half.
Yeah, this is... I feel like Endpoint actually do need 7. The fact that they've recovered it, they got 5 rounds in a row, is really good for their side, and it will do their confidence wonders. This looks like a straight B play, so this might be over before it can even really get going.
Gonna just run it on in here, just full rush. This is such a good way to try and end things off, but the kills aren't going their way. And MHL down to 25 HP, Mighty Max down low as well. He's moving past the op. There's only so much damage in that Mac 10. He has to whip out the side arm. 9-6 half on the B rush. It will be defended successfully by 500. We'll be hopping into a break, and once we come back, that second half of play.
Straight in.
Here we are.
6. Yeah, I love it. Don't have to wait too long. I like that. We get a little bit of a halftime break, but it's like, oh no, actually, we're right back in.
Oh,
That's fantastic because it feels good for the players as well. Leg spotted, Max removed, and it's quite scary that Mighty Max 17 kills, fair sort. It's actually a double dual Beretta setup in Cave, and well, it hasn't really worked. In fact, none of it has worked for Endpoint. 1 versus 4 for Heavy God. Good luck.
I think that's a really good point that you bring up here. There is 17 frags for Mighty Max. This is kind of his map, man. I've seen him frag out one too many times on this map to think this is like a fluke or anything like that. He's just incredibly skilled when it comes to this map. I don't know what it is about it. It's just, you know, some players have certain maps that they just perform consistently well on. It builds their confidence. But you can see the distribution over on 500, right? They have a Mighty Max of their own in Rainwaker that the rifler you were talking about heading into this one. And he's got 17 frags as well. But the rest of his team, you can see, is close behind him. Everyone huddling in around 12 or 11. Everyone positive or neutral in Patrick's sense. So 500 looking very strong here, and they continue that strength with a pistol round win.
And that's what scares me for Endpoint. I feel like we need the players around Max to step up a little bit more. We saw Fessa having some wonderful entries on the T side, now needs to defend. CT Orpin on Ancient is, I think, one of the most fun things to do, and I feel like MHL will have a lot of new angles available to him, whether it's a deep peek in towards B, whether it's starting donut, A main. There are plenty of options for MHL to get involved and find openings. However, we're not talking about AWPs in this round. We're literally talking about 4 spies and deagles. This is quick, and Endpoint are all here on A. Everyone's fully blind, and Rainwaker comes out on top just for 1. Surreal at the back of the site, can't find too much, and Max has been in the smoke the entire time, doubles up, and now Ships is all that remains.
That's a beautiful read right there. Having so much presence prepared. That's exactly what Endpoint needed. Mighty Max continues to deliver as well in the second half, man. Guy is feasting. Chips in a 1v3. I mean, you look what he's up against. It's 2 AKs now. It's not like they're pistols still. They've picked up the rifles, and Endpoint pick up the round. That is dreamy for them there. Force Bite, it gets them started early, and it immediately puts a stop to that momentum. If you remember how that second half closed out, and like you had said there, it's not a big halftime break, right? So it's a firm reminder once you hop into the pistol and you get dominated like 500 were able to do, of what you're up against, and you know the ability that 500 bring to the table. Well, in the very next round, Endpoint, they answer back, and they start to build up that CT side foundation, pick themselves up 2 AKs and a Galil, so the money's going to be even looking further strong, and this isn't a pretty buy either, right? 500 bringing in a lot of deagles, but not a lot of utility here, and you're just going to need to land so many incredible shots to get past this round if you're 500 without that utility.
Yeah. Jump spot doesn't amount to anything though. Surreal. This is time. This is the round where you get surreal confidence building with the MP9, and it feels a lot better for Endpoint. That's it. That's the statement. I'd like Surreal just to get a few kills here. That'd be fantastic. But Nicky's hit the timing, and they're actually getting very close in towards B. It looks like Rainwaker's going to try and cause a little bit of a nuisance out towards A. Although as soon as I say that, he backs up. So maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about.
Here's where I think the issue of utility comes into play, though, right?
Yeah.
There is one smoke to cut things off, but it's actually really wise how Endpoint are playing, keeping their distance, because if they don't use that smoke, you know, in one of the right lanes, then they will be in for a world of hurt, but they're just now starting to spread that defense a little bit thinner on that B bomb site. They've covered out middle control here, and it all depends. There's the smoke, though, on that left lane, and so the only real worry is that long side. They'll be able to scale out. Ooh, there might have been a gap in that one. Looks like it.
Oh my goodness me, there's so much damage. And yet the bomb somehow still goes down. And Patrick finds Fessor. This looks like a little bit scary.
Oh my god.
There are trades, though. It's okay. It's still a 2 versus 2 for Endpoint. There are kits available, so they can waste a couple more extra seconds. Just making sure they're being diligent in clearing everything. But Ship's tucked in at the back of Cave. Patrick winning out the fight. But where is Ships? Still yet to reveal himself. Another tap on the bomb. Ships not moving, not sold on the idea. It is amazing from Ships. And 500 win it right back. Will die to the bomb. I feel like MHL would have as well. Endpoint need to reforce back in, reinvest. This is the last thing you want to be doing on the CT side.
You've got to be kidding me. They really win that round.
I don't know how.
I really didn't give them any chances there. Like I said, that one smoke and one flashbang, it shouldn't really be enough to get away with it. But then you see the 1Ds that they're able to land. I think one of them was like on 1 HP, turning the corner. He still goes down swinging with another kill. Like, it's just exactly what they needed to get the round away with, and they got away with it big time. That's incredible stuff. A dink onto Ships, but it's no kill confirmed. Bit unfortunate there with the deagle to land the wallbang, the headshot, but no kill confirmed. This time we'll see if 500 are a little bit more careful. That's what I'm getting out of them. A little more caution than that last round here, but they better be careful because this mid collapse is good and Mighty Max is better, man. He started things off with a nice headshot. He finishes the job on a Patrick this time around, and look at this. They're going to try and collapse in towards middle here. They're walking into a bit of a crossfire. Nicky and Rainwaker pushing and pulling attention. I thought that would have gone a lot better for Endpoint, but peeking perfectly is Rainwaker right there, as he so often will.
I can't believe he hits the spray transfer from up high to down low, and they're both... It's not a straight vertical, like, drag down. He has to go diagonally, and he's still spraying the entire time, hitting the recoil control with a Galil. Because, of course, that's the recoil pattern we all know and love. I think muscle memory ingrained into most of us Counter-Strike players of the AK. Endpoint will fall, and that forces the hand. That has to now be an eco. 500 can get themselves up to 13 rounds. before Endpoint's proper gun round can come out. I'm not even sure MHL is going to be able to afford an AWP here. I don't think he will.
It's a nice eye opener right there to the mid stack. Rifle retrieved. Not for long though. Rainmaker will dispatch of that. He's really building up some confidence right now. These last couple of rounds, back-to-back 3Ks. Encapsulate it with a 4. Don't need a repeak here. No, the eco is enticing, but it's much more important to hold on to your weapon here. He'll even molly off the gun that's been dropped out, so White Mac's gonna get delayed out in that pickup. And now another headshot, dude. You gotta be kidding me. This is some nice damage done. But 500. They're gonna deal up with a purchase here, but the fact that Endpoint didn't really capitalize off of any of that momentum with the second round converted in their favor, I think that maybe is gonna have some big implications on the way this map plays out.
I think, yeah, it goes back to a point you were saying where Rainmaker is top of the board for 500, but everyone behind him is trying their best to keep up, but at least they're all kind of keeping up at the same pace. For Endpoint, your ceiling is very high with max at 20, MHL 18, but your lows are really low with Surreal and Heavy God both on 6. Fortunately for Surreal, he does update the tally. And that's a good opener for Endpoint. And look at these rotations. They are all here, ready to try and collapse on a potential execute.
Made their way deep into the site. Danislaw gets spotted early, but Heavy God doesn't want to overcommit to this angle, and that's exactly why, because if he goes down, it's going to create a lot of panic here. But it doesn't seem like there's too much panic in Endpoint's camp. And for good reason. They're holding their own. This is some composed Counter-Strike from Endpoint here. Not being sold on the amount of space that they lost towards that B bomb site. Instead, they're just going to batten down the hatches here continuously towards A. If you're 500, you're a little bit shocked that they didn't rotate off at all. I mean, they were all the way in towards the site there. I would have been beelining it. You know, booking it towards the B bomb site, but no. They just held their ground on A. They didn't move the muscle, and that was the right call.
That's a really important round to win as well. Really critical to the success of Endpoint. Investment comes in. You immediately back it up. Because we've got to remember that Forced by Wars work both ways, and 500's economy did take a hit as a result. Look at this faster play up B. Utility looked pretty good for Endpoint, but Heavy God can't convert the kill. And Ships is already here, dispatched of MHL. How on earth have 500 overwhelmed the bomb site like that? That should not be happening.
Didn't have any resistance there, really. No utility to keep them at bay here, but 3 on 5. They have a lot of utility left to pull this retake off. It all depends on a game of timing here with Rainwaker close up and personal. Fester will dispatch that quickly. There isn't a lot of time left to go for these spams, though. And actually, they're not going to go for it at all, in fact. They're going to bail out of this one. Call it quits. 500, they don't stay down for long, do they? Immediately reply after the gun round goes in favor of Endpoint with a B rush there. Mac 10's in play. D Eagles, again, they get away with it a little too easy. And, ooh, there's a rifle on the ground there for them to pick up as well.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
It's just Heavy God, yeah, he gets caught off guard, but he stands and fights. If he just waits and just tucks himself in, then maybe Ships doesn't run all the way through and deals with MHL through the smokes. He feels a little bit less uncomfortable. Sorry, a little bit less comfortable. Maybe they reroute through long instead, and MHL can hold a deeper line. Heavy God can be ready as the first responder. Like, there's so many different options if Heavy God just stays alive for an extra couple of seconds. By him falling there, that just completely unlocks the round and all of the control for 500.
Yeah, that's a tough round to give up right there. I think Heavy God might need a little bit of support on this B bomb site here. They're leaving them high and dry. At 500, I've identified that. They're taking advantage of it. Just a little bit. And again, it looks like he's solo. This time, not going to get punished for it fully. There's no B rush or anything along those lines. But it is a bit wild to see them just leave him to his own devices after the last round.
Look at this contact in at Donut. Max deals with Rainwaker. Because, of course, Clash of Titans on the server. Max comes out on top. Surreal gets, well, arguably triple peaked. And now Max is so low. And 500 don't even commit to it. They just reset. They pull the rotations over from B. And now they look to execute with Nicky working his way through the cave smoke.
This is a nice reroute here, but this time there's a little bit of help for Heavy God. Nicky's he's activated way too early. So he's going to go down towards Donut. All the attention can be turned in towards ramp. There's no second element to this outside of really the patience from Ships over towards middle. Denislaw land a kill and punch in the digits. Now Ships is able to strike, and now we're even, but they know Denislaw is isolated. They know that he's alone. Mighty Max waiting right outside the smoke. Oh boy, Denislaw has this one in the palm of his hands, and he turns for the second. Not quite landing it on Defessor. And Ships is way too far removed. I didn't realize how late he was to activate. I thought he was making his move on up. I was so focused on what Denislaw was doing. At the very least, he'll take all of them down with him. It's a very clean headshot to close, but figured he would have came in and helped him out a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely would have thought so. Look at those odds shift over at 1xbet as well. cct.gg/1xbet if you want to get involved. Of course, guys, that is gambling. So please make sure you're of age. Please make sure you're doing it responsibly. Only bet what you can realistically afford to lose if the bets don't come in.
Of course. Denislaw posted up here with the AWP. Besser, though, this time able to, again, wield some success towards middle. So weird to see this B defense, though. Playing in a retake situation, giving over full control. I mean, surely 500 start to abuse this eventually with the amount of space that they're constantly given. He's just walking up. I mean, they already are. It's just free ground here for Denislaw. He's all the way up ramp on a solo mission with the up and Rainwaker takes care of too. I can't believe it.
This push in now from Heavy God and Surreal. They're just going to tuck on in. And in fact, they are re-walking the B bomb site. Now, this might be a cause for concern for 500. Just kidding. They check the bomb site again. Not in the T's and crossing the I's. Denny doesn't quite deal with Heavy God, but now he will. Because he's posted along the entire time. And you're right. There's just so much control here given over by Endpoint. The way they were playing on the T side, they weren't contesting Cave. And now, I think outside of the pistol, I've not seen them go into Cave and kind of fight for the control out shelf. Not once this entire half.
There's not even anyone on site. Like, there's no one in Cave. There's no one in Jaguar. There's no one in the site either. There's no crossfires. There's no B resistance at all. It's really bizarre to see that. It looks like Endpoint have just committed to it as well. They haven't changed things up. I mean, even after that B rush when Heavy God got cut off guard with Mac 10s and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, maybe you give him a little bit of help there, but nothing given to him. What? My God. He's been farming up a storm here, but Heavy God and Surreal. It's not enough firepower in this round, I don't think, to really get anything done. Fesser traded out. This is like a nightmare situation here, Endpoint, where you are up against like a 15th round, and you have $1,400 to your name. It's like, it doesn't get worse than that. Realistically, it's like, your days are numbered on this map. So, obviously 500 picking into this one, but they looked really strong on this T side.
Yeah, they did, and I feel like it's a combination of your star pieces of Endpoint not finding you as many kills as you would like, run boost even failing. I think that really just sums up the game for Endpoint. A fitted way to end it out. Patrick even spamming through smokes. Now hunting with the Glock 18 of all things. 500 take the map 16 rounds to 9.
Yeah, that's a really strong performance right there. Second half felt a little bit just kind of out of things. for sure. Not a lot of adaptation. Some strong, positions there, here and there. They had some great A defenses. They had some great calls, but I felt like at the end of it, were they even great calls? Because it was just, the same things over and over again, where we just saw them completely stack that A bomb site, stack middle, and never really give anything towards the B side of things. And 500, they knew that as well very quickly and early in the half there by some of the plays that they were going for. So good stuff from 500. They identified some weaknesses and they were able to take it the extra mile.
Yeah, for sure. And now we head on to Mirage. At least MHL and Fessor were kind of waking up towards the end. They were getting high on the scoreboard. So for Endpoint, we'll see if they can build back in on their map pick. That's just after this quick break.
very complicated job, but I love simple things so much. One move, one push. One touch. One love. One click. One X-Bet.
Are you sick of just opening cases? Join the events! At each event, you can find special cases from which tokens fall. Tokens are your ticket into a world of unique awards. For tokens, you can buy a skin, premium, or special balance. Try your luck in the skin generator. Also, you can leave your tokens at the token vault. And the more tokens you keep, the better skin you'll get. Add variety to opening cases with Hellcase.
The hunger for glory feeds the desire, the courage to look for a challenge, to feed your ambitions. To reach for greatness. To become the champion of champions.
And we are back here with the second map of play here. This time we're hopping into Endpoint's map pick after a very strong looking result there from 500. Something that we were talking about here is that going to be a dominant result for some residual effects to be lying over here in map number 2? Is Endpoint's confidence shot, or do you think they have a chance here on Mirage?
Look, I think it's very interesting. I think Endpoint starting on T side. I'm not sure how much that will help them. Mirage is a map where you need to prioritize taking mid control, and you can really utilize it in the splits with your executes. And MHL was performing well towards the latter end, but that was really on CT. He struggled on T side. Fessor had some good openings in towards middle on Ancient, so hopefully he can replicate the same success there. I feel it's just going to be really difficult for Endpoint because I feel like all of the 500 players are kind of arriving on the server and they're all providing impact in different ways. And you couldn't really say that for every single player of Endpoint. And that's why I think if it starts off potentially quite good, if 500 get a good start on Mirage and they try to snowball it into advantage, that's where the cause for concern really is for Endpoint.
Yeah, I definitely agree, right? If we see them get off to that same dominant start, that CT side, where they were able to deliver a lot of runs, that we did see quickly that Fessor was the one, I think, to really disrupt that. He was doing a lot of good work on this T side, and that was something that you just said. If he can maybe get activated early, find those same entries, take advantage of that mid control, that's going to be a huge deal. But we do have that second map of play here. We'll be hopping into things very shortly. Mirage to try and keep Endpoint alive. Going to be a huge key detail here. As yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing if these guys can deliver. And again, Endpoint's a roster that I want to see grow. I mean, I'm liking the look. This is my first time actually casting Endpoint with Fessor, so he's seemingly very strong. And look at this anticipation. There's some preparation here. It seems like being done right now in that sort of patience, and it's going to pay off for an opening pick and a second. Fessor and Surreal doubling down here in the 3v5.
Yeah, this is good. And they have caused rotations. I'm looking at Rainwaker, though, because if you can find MHL... Wow, Ship's actually found Heavy Gold. But if MHL falls in middle here, then Rainwaker can kind of put all his attention over towards B. Because that's where Endpoint are heading. Instead, he just completely gives it up. Rotation for Nikki is here in time as well.
Wow. This is very quick rotations. And I don't mind Endpoint not barreling it in anymore, right? It's a very good read not to commit too heavily in towards this B bomb site. They have plenty of options, but Rainwaker is just constantly proactive. Nicky has just started to plant his feet here. He's going to make sure to establish some dominance, but in the meantime, Rainwaker has kind of turned his attention in towards Catwalk and towards the ladder room. I don't know if those vents are busted open. I'd imagine they aren't, so it's going to be a bit of a problem here as the smoke comes in from the B bomb site towards the top of connector. What is going on here? They're going to go up the catwalk here. It is going to be a bit of a cat split. Rainwaker's still in ladder, though. Surreal maybe thought he checked it, but oh boy, MHL has snuck his way up and is going to take care of business. It's just Nicky left in the back site. Mighty Max, he's going to clear it. That's the alarm bells ringing there and some headshots singing from Surreal. As Endpoint, they do get off to a beautiful pistol round start.
What a fantastic pistol for Endpoint. The fact that they are really patient, they reset not once but twice in that round. Not letting the pressure get to them, not letting the initial kind of trade of kills after Vessel opens up with a couple really distract them from the main objective. That was really well played, and despite 500 taking contact, having those rotation points, Endpoint were just seemingly one step ahead. Mighty Max now looking to go aggressive, but then he does overwhelm, but Fessel is here. That's fantastic from the young gun.
It's a beautiful round right there. Keeping his head on a swivel. Oh my goodness, Rainwaker. Put on notice. I wonder if that's been heard there. A lot of attention towards window. Don't want to keep feeding the beast here, I think is key. And luckily, the walking to Surreal instead of Fesser, not allowing him to build up any more confidence. It's the last thing you want is letting this guy get activated earliest. Heavy God will finish off the job on the flank. MP7 user Heavy God, apparently. Don't see that all that often.
But that was just the USPs. Now, 500, they bring the guns out as early as they possibly can. Round number 3, yeah, you've not got an AWP on Denny, but you've got a pretty well fleshed out battle utility for everyone apart from Rainwaker. You've also got all of the M4s in play. We saw 500 getting really proactive on the CT side of Ancient. Looks to maybe be the same here on Mirage. Already seen them push ramp on the pistol, take contact over towards B apartments. What is the setup going to be now that they've got the heavy investment? Looks to be a pushing towards middle.
So that mid control is going to be a huge priority for both of these teams here in the series. We're seeing it in the first gun round with the push and pull of this mid setup. You have eyes on underpass from Nicky, and then obviously top mid covered out by Denny's Law. Obviously no op either, though. With this third round buy, it's always a bit of a liability if you don't land a lot of kills on the pistol, and follow-up round, you can't even get a glass cannon out, so what do they have for us here? Flash is going into its top mid. It's going to be a collapse here late, and so it's going to put a lot of pressure on Dennis Law and Nicky hitting some shots here.
Oh, that's not the best of starts. Immediate trades, but I like Ships' position here. If Endpoint going towards A, which it doesn't look like they are doing, so it is a little bit redundant. So Rainwaker now at the back. How much can he realistically achieve? Patrick coming over in support. If Patrick actually takes contact first, then it could have been a different story. But instead, Heavy God clears. But Patrick finds 2. That's the bomb dropped.
10 seconds. Ships is yet to really fully rotate. He's still hovering around towards Khan. Finally making his move on him, but it's still an incredibly difficult post fight. Despite Patrick's heroics, despite him finding 2 kills, it was great work. But getting past this round, incredibly difficult. Because Mighty Max up will make it a whole lot easier. He gets naded down by Surreal and finished off there very quickly. Now, last player is huddling in towards Van. There is no kits here, but he's spotted. And time's being bought further. Surreal just hiding. Oh, and gets on top of the barrel to land the headshot. That is beautiful from Surreal. A huge clutch from him. And one of the players that wasn't really showing up too much on Ancient is now 5-0 on Mirage.
Yeah, it's a real old school. He loves Mirage. Tell you what, fair play to him for rescuing that situation after he nades Max. That's really not ideal.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like Mighty Max maybe a little bit too proactive there at the post plant, right?
Agreed.
It was a fault on both ends, I will say.
Yeah.
But yeah, good closer either way, and you know they can laugh it off now that they won the round.
For sure. It's just Eagles now. A couple of pieces of Kevlar behind a few of these 500 players. They're making the read that it could end towards A, which it hasn't. I don't need these rounds really for Endpoint so far. And it's really good. In actual fact, it's like almost like a complete role reversal for Endpoint. Yes, we're only 3 rounds deep. It's a very small sample size, guys. However, Max hasn't got a kill. Surreal, Heavy God, MHL, Fessel, they're all firing, which is fantastic. And they're all in close proximity to each other. And they're just moving as a team consistently. That's been the main thing between Ancient and Mirage, I think. Everyone is moving with a pack mentality for Endpoint. However, this is quite scary.
A little quick collapsing towards a stacked bomb site there, but Heavy Cud going to disrupt it just a little bit. Disjoint the presence. There's not a lot of that A ramp control that they need to get past this stack, and Patrick's going to take advantage of that. Now they're hovering inside of the smoke, inside of Palace as well. Surreal still firing away, but bested here by Rainwaker. Can he find anything else? Of course he finds Stu, man. Somehow he makes it happen, but it's not the round confirmed. MHL puts an end to it, and Endpoint up to the 4-0 start. This is great work from them. They're starting to pull things back. Finding their footing here on Mirage. They're looking much better than they did on that last map. Even walking into the stack there in that round. Right? I feel like that should have, with how well 500 are working, maybe been enough to pull them across the line, but still not quite meant to be. And 500, they're going to get the investments back out, but they got to figure out a way to get around.
I also wonder how much this series has really actually been dictated by the fact that Endpoint started T-side on Ancient. Because they had the choice. Could have been on the defense, Heavy God. Now on the offense, looks to take control, but flashbang perfect. Not blinding Heavy God, but it does enough to disrupt where his crosshair was. Ships gets the man advantage and actually just keeps on pushing. Look at all the space being taken by ships.
That's a lot of initiative right there. Consistently towards that A side here, but it does leave that B side a little bit weak. I say that a little bit. It is a lot of bit weak. In fact, there is no one here. Some similar problems for both teams here. I'm leaving B sites weak, but Rainwaker tries to recover. He's arrived a little bit too late to the party. It's good chip damage there. They get past the op, or at least stay alive past the op, but now market door and window are both smoked off. Desperately trying to pull things back. This gap in the smoke could facilitate MHL. Oh, beautiful from Patrick. Getting boosted past the smoke. That's going to take care of the op problem here. And now it makes this retake a lot more doable.
Yeah, but Fessor drives in with Surreal. Nicky does fight back, but Max has found Rainwaker, and I was going to say all the pieces were falling apart. It's now just a 1 versus 1. Nicky feels like he hasn't got enough time to go for it. Max holding. Orb does escape. And it looks like it will after time 2. I guess really dicey at the end there, but Endpoint, the difference between their map pick is that they're holding on. They're fighting back. Max comes in with his first 2 kills of the game, and they were so crucial. It keeps Endpoint alive. It keeps that flawless streak building. Orb has been reacquainted with Denislaw. But in terms of the investment behind it, really here, yeah, it's going to be Famuses and MP9s. It's really not ideal.
Certainly going to leave them a bit worried here. Up. Still maintained for Denislaw, and that's a great... Oh, wait, that was a team flash there. Unfortunately for Mighty Max. He'll be taken down by the op of Denislaw, and he's enabled to escape narrowly. But a 4v5 here finally found an early advantage as opposed to trying to pull things back late. I guess they had that in the last round, but they did lose a lot of control and sacrificing Right now, what is the recovery mission here for Endpoint? This time, that B bomb site, it actually does have some defender. Ships is standing here, but he's taking a lot of damage.
Again, very patient. MHL seizing control in middle with Fessor. Really taking their time. Applying this squeeze on towards 500. Rainwaker. Oh no. He's definitely seen players and ships in amongst the window. At least the bomb was dropped over before Fessor scrambled in. We got a 3 versus 5 and, well, in fact, it just gets so much worse. Heavy God can reveal himself from Palace, but it just feels really obvious at this point. So many flashes, 20 seconds left. 500 look poised to take their first.
Yeah, gonna go ahead and give this one up here Endpoint. They actually don't have a lot of money because the last 3 rounds here have come down to like 1v1s or 1vx's, so as you can see, take a look at the right side of your screen. Money is a little bit sour for Endpoint despite winning themselves 5 in a row. Saving these rifles is pretty impactful, as it'll give them a chance to, you know, force around it, maybe. I mean, obviously they could go for a full eco here with the Glocks and then just hope that maybe Surreal and Heavy God can do some damage. We'll see what they go for here. I mean, there's a lot of options with this sort of lead that they're wielding. No need to rush a decision, and they'll actually take a timeout to decide. So you can appreciate that composure. Endpoint getting a chance to discuss things further. Meanwhile, you take a look at 500. They did grab themselves 2 AKs in the hands of Ships and Nikki. That's a bit scary when you give it over to the defense, especially some of the strong players that 500 wield.
You're talking about economy as well, and the fact that 500 win that round with everyone staying alive is such an advantage for them trying to assemble a comeback here. And you're right, with this buy for Endpoint, it is a really good opportunity for 500 to start to build some momentum on this defense. Heavy God starts working, spots out Patrick. Patrick doesn't need to commit to any of this, which is why he falls back. Waits for the cavalry to arrive. That smoke, I mean, it's okay, but at the same time, you've really limited your options now because Endpoint can't fight forward.
Yeah, this is a retake setup that 500 were going for, so that smoke is going to allow them to play maybe a little bit more aggressively, but a nice smoke thrown out from Mighty Max, much more useful. Catches more HE damage. The issue is the cavalry is already here. Surreal catches Patrick swinging for the fences, though. And now we have a chance here to plant, but it's being watched here. Scout tag does rain on out there, and they don't drop the bomb. They don't do anything of the sorts here. An op shot rains out from Denny's Law. Last 2 players here. Could be noted. Mighty Max jumping around towards jungle, though. Gonna try and enable the bomb plant. The double swing comes through, but Danny's Law targets correctly and puts it into a 1v2. That's difficult to do as well. Mighty Max making a lot of noise here. Confirmed in towards Firebox. There is an HE from Rainwaker. He's trying to sink that one in. We'll finish it with the rifle instead. It's not a bad round there from Endpoint. They did a lot more than I thought they would do at the start of it, but it still goes in 500's way, and that's the force buy kind of punished.
It's actually so sensible from Denny, because he gets the kill onto MHL with the AWP, then picks up an AK. That's why Max is going for that movement. He's really trying to offset the crosshair, make the AWP trying to like pick a target. Instead, it's the AK, so then he can just go, okay, you're jumping, I'll deal with you later, and gets rid of Surreal. That was fantastic from Europa, who does pick it back up right at the end. Deagles, even a Glock thrown into the mix for Endpoint as they look to go under pass. And for 500, you never want to say rounds are guaranteed, but this one feels good as for the CT side.
100%. Patrick not letting anyone sneak out towards A. He's been doing a good job of defending. Even in that last round, man. 2 kills on the back of default when they were like very much so closing in on his location. When it's putting his back against the wall, essentially, like a high pressure situation. Found 2 kills. I didn't think he was good for it, but he is. He's good for it. He's good for 2 more. Continuing to build confidence. That A side anchoring. You know, we talk about the B anchor. It's not a fun role to play on the B anchor. A is a lot more fun, but it is very difficult. You have to be sharp. The game sense has to be there, right? Palace lurks are popping out every which way, so you can't really get those early rotates. And trying to isolate duels, man, it can be a very difficult job. So Patrick's been doing so nicely in this recovery. These last 3 rounds, a lot has been asked of him, and he has passed the test.
Yeah, A's very difficult. I feel like both anchor roles have their difficulties, and well, the B one's about to be tested. Look at this pace. Has been spotted out. Denny and Rainwaker combine, and suddenly it's a 4-on-2. MHL escapes in towards the ladder temporarily because Denny's trained on the position. And this is what I mean, man. Sometimes 500 get 1 kill. You look away, you look back after 2 seconds, and they have 4. And it's like, how on earth have you done this?
Even right there, you're like, oh man, Endpoint are getting some good map control here.
Yeah,
this is gonna work really
good.
well, right? It's like they're up cat already. It's 20 seconds into the round. There's no way things go wrong for them. But yeah, you're exactly right, man. The pullback right there. There's such a deceptive bit of like map control for them as well. They still have Rainwaker that they have to worry about in underpass. They're getting crunched in from connector and cat, so crossfires were already there. It was just a matter of time before they sprung into action. And right on cue. 500 able to push him back. Ooh. There you go, though. A little bit of patience pays off there. Surreal able to absolutely deal with Nikki. That's a... Felt like a nice shot. Nope, another one. Was he trying to push past that smoke there?
Looks like it.
Oh. That's no good.
Oh, Denny misses the shot on the orb. Rainwaker tucked in towards short. Oh my god. Okay, Endpoint. And now they go A. They know that Patrick is the player that lurks in and he's the anchor for that bomb site. And Endpoint just go, okay, well, we know it's free. Thank you very much. And now they're even hunting because, let's be honest, they got nothing to lose here. What a fantastic round from Endpoint.
Bester was the only one who invested armor, man. That's insanity. MHL grabs an op as his prize here, potentially. Rainwaker still stands close by. Wow. Only one goes down. That's wild stuff right there. They just gave it up big time. 500 getting decimated. CT side aggression, right? The initial aggression, Nikki. Yeah, he got owned. That happens. That can take place, you know, every once in a while. You can get headshot across map deagle. That's going to take place. I can even kind of, you know, understand Patrick, right? Getting himself in a position here where he has to take a fight on one front instead of 2. So he tries to recover connector, but pushing past the smoke there. And a 4v5, I feel like that's a little too ambitious for my liking. That's where the big mistake, I think, was made in this round. And 500, it cost them.
Yeah, it really did. Big time. What a round from Endpoint. The kill that gets me is the Max one. Doesn't even look like he's looking at Patrick.
Yeah.
From our perspective, because we saw it through Patrick's little GoPro on his chest. This to be an A execute. A lot more contact heavy for Endpoint. We haven't really seen this at all. And I like it. They're getting very explosive. Yeah, rotations need to come in, but smokes are already down. Endpoint doing significant damage onto Patrick, and in fact, they force him out perfectly.
Patrick's been left with so many different retake situations here. Bomb being planted in an off angle, but Rainwaker will deny it. And oh, there you go. Heavy God. He's going to pull things back. They still plant in the wide open, and that's a big problem. That's a big liability. Multiple players going down, and Denny's Law extends even further. A one-way smoke on top of Ticket, but not giving over his life just yet. Ships is trying to play this one a little bit more patient here. As the op covering the cross, and I cannot believe it. 4-on-2. One spam through the smoke, it disrupts the bomb plant, and that can be the difference between a one round establishing yourself in post plants versus what we just saw right there, where it's a panic to get the bomb plant in. You know, you're leaving yourself exposed over and over again. You're not careful enough. You're thinking teammates are watching angles. And the communication can break down so quickly.
It's fantastic for 500, but for Endpoint, that's just turmoil. Because you're right. And the bomb plant was disrupted not once, but twice. If it goes down there, then the pressure just swaps over. Endpoint, they'll be in the driver's seat. 500 need to push. They need to take the initiative, trying to defuse the bomb. But because it never gets planted, it never gets put down, Endpoint are always scrambling. And that's where 500 could slow down the pace. They can then clear angles. That's why Denny has free reign to walk in towards middle and find Fessor. Unreal.
Definitely needed that as a response right there. If we were going to see Endpoint start to run away with things, it could have been a real scary half here. But 500, they get a little bit of new lease on life here. Again, though, Fessor taking this space is going to be incredibly valuable. They don't realize that they're already in jungle. Nikki is going to be in for a nice surprise here very soon. No, Mighty Max is actually going to kill him. So Fessor still hasn't shown his position. Fessor can still have a say in this round.
Look at the trade. It's actually a double up setup as well. Ships got the other one. And Patrick just gets overwhelmed by 3 different angles at the same time. Feeling much better for Endpoint. And with a double AWP investment, that's a lot of money. And as a result, Ships is going to need to save this one. So at a minimum, Denny can bring forward a sniper into the next. That's 7 for Endpoint. And what's wild to me, Cole, is the fact that we're seeing these rounds go back and forth, but more often than not, it is maybe like 1 casualty, 2 casualties. That's it. Like it's not a case of like we're going back to back, blow for blow, like 1 versus 1s. It's right down to the wire. It's both teams like kind of just stomping each other. They're just taking it in turns.
Yeah, I mean, you can see very quickly like the break apart in some of these rounds as well for 500 when it's so dominant from Endpoint, right? Just a little bit of access point, middle control. When it's not there, it feels like they leave it as a huge liability. I mean, we saw in that last round when they don't put as much emphasis towards mid, it looks like there's just so much panic in the entirety of the defense, but there's also a lot of blind spots, right? That top of connector lurk was insane, but they were also up ladder. There's just so much ground that they were able to take there for free. As a mid control now being once again prioritized here from both camps. Yes, sir. He's going to go past the smoke here. Denizal finds 1 Rainwaker as well. The rifles start to sing. MHL has a cutoff. Now they need to get Denizal out of dodge. And they will do so with the smoke.
Oh, but he gets punished. Heavy Gold will secure the kill in towards Palace, and he's been, I'd say, quite absent by and large. There's a lot of opportunities where he's tried to work his way through, and it's just unfortunate because whatever he has, he's been held. But that time, does get rid of the AWPer. Endpoint reset. All 3 of them now grouping towards middle. Nicky's holding for a cross in case they go up short. But there's no real information if Endpoint go through connector, because they could go very quiet here.
Going to try and get loud towards this A-bomb site here. Nicky spams a lot downrange through the smoke, but doesn't find anything. Patrick, he wants to extend. He's being covered here, and it will land the first beautiful headshot onto Surreal. Keep him in the advantage. Patrick has spotted one going in towards Apex. He's just going to sit and hold. They know exactly where Heavy God is. Getting away with this one's going to be near impossible. And Nicky going to shut it down. Now, at least that was more competitive, right? You can see the back and forth.
Yeah.
You can see the early trades take place in a 3v3 that could have been anyone's round. But again, Patrick, he passes another test there. Able to defend and play very passively on that A setup. He's not oftentimes past the CT smoke. Oftentimes he's trying to just play in ticket booth. But he's getting away with it rather consistently. And, you know, just staying alive is an asset in its own right. And Patrick has been doing just that.
6 rounds is all 500 needed on the CT side to beat 9 on Mirage. There's potential for maybe a couple more. That was so close from Denny. Again, we've got this fast play up towards short, but okay. Never mind. It's just, I can't even finish the sentence and 500 kill everyone. In all seriousness, though, how does Rainwaker get 2 there? Because there's no world in which he should be finding both.
He has been sharp. He's been really strong right now. They're probably expecting Heavy God on Palace, but he's going to lurk out towards... Hey, that's a nice shot. That's a great way to kick things off here back in the recovery mission. 4 on 2. Deagle Professor. Could grab himself a rifle if he's playing his cards right, but a quick trade will end things off. And we're tied up at 7s. But right now, prime opportunity to win the half here for 500. Considering their slow start to this one,
Yeah.
I don't think it's all that bad. They could win out this last round.
I couldn't agree more, right? It was 5-0 to kick things off. You end the half 8-7. Like, that feels great. And for Endpoint, that kind of feels a bit... What a missed opportunity. There was definitely potential here to exploit. They've been doing really well. I don't want to count them out because 7 rounds is still fantastic on your T side. But given the landscape of the scenario, given what could have been, there was definitely potential for Endpoint to run away with a few more rounds. I think that's what they'd be thinking.
Yeah, with some of the rounds that they were winning as well. Some beautiful shots with the deals and all of that. Ships, though, needs to prepare himself. What is that on transition? That felt like he was running and gunning there, landing some shots. He was helped out big time by Rainwaker there. But like you had said, these rounds over within a second. 500. Finished the job with 8 there. Great recovery from them. We'll see if they can bring that in to the second half after a break.
Eight 7. Endpoint need to win their map pick to stay alive in the series, to stay in contention of being in the West Europe playoffs. Round of 16 game, 500. Made it look pretty easy on Ancient. This time it's a bit more of a fight.
We'll see if 500 can continue to keep that fight up here. It's going to be the CT side, the Endpoint now lie on in. Have some of the individuals here. Surreal's been playing a great game. MHL with the op. If you grab that quickly, it's going to be a real strong suit here. Fessor jump spotting. This has to be heard, but they're bypassing it now. Patrick is up. Connector. This is a huge blind spot. MHL. He's good to trade it out, but a quick frag comes through from Dennis Law. We're back into even stead here. That smoke towards jungle a tad bit too late. It's left for a couple kills.
Right here, yeah. Observer called it. Max on towards ships. Fessor, it doesn't matter. Immediate trade, but that space enables the bomb to be planted, and it's for ramp.
Oof. Yeah, that's a good point there. There's a smoke and a kit, though, for Surreal, and I don't know if they have time to do this.
No, they don't.
Full stick from Surreal coming through.
Yeah.
Up the ramp here. I'm desperate. Oh, okay. Never mind. Fessor deals with them quickly. And in that sort of position, I think it's best to double up there. Nicky and you know, his teammate in ramp maybe could have peeked forward there. Tough in the hindsight, right? You probably don't know that there's still a smoke and kit in play, but long transition cost them, and a beautiful round there. Vessel looking sharp. He is you know, playing a hell of a game. Think he was like top 5 in the stats over at FPL, so good stuff from him. Putting in the work, and the mechanics certainly showing up in the server.
I think I could be mistaken here, but it's either a pistol or a really light buy. The 500 did exactly that against 9. They planted the bomb and they just went for the immediate wrap in towards middle. It doesn't work out. Didn't work out then, doesn't work out now. Heavy God with the MP9. Will at least find ships. Rainwaker, though, with a trade and the follow-up. That's the A-bomb site nearly opened up, and now it is. Because Vessel can't find anything under Palace.
There's a lurkout Palace right there that completely ignored under Balk. And if you're heavy god there, you're not anticipating that someone would just walk out Palace like that ever in the right mind. But Rainwaker finds that first kill on top of Ticket. So then you're like, oh, I got to worry about Connector now. Heavy God starts to rotate off from main to worry about Connector to help out, you know, in the next prong of approach there. And an attack gets caught by the Palace lurk. I mean, that's formulated so well, despite ships getting taken down pretty dominantly, right? You didn't do too much damage to Heavy God, if any at all. So that sort of collapsed there. It very easily could have been toppled if we saw, you know, maybe a frag or two change up. But once Rainwaker takes care of that first player on top Ticket, you can kind of see that the dominoes start to collapse. And Endpoint, these second rounds, when the bomb goes down, they are incredibly difficult to win.
It's just the fact that Vessel's there the whole time. He's like, okay, look, you've killed 2 of my teammates. That's fine. I've got the M4. I've got the silencer. I'm going to win the round. And then Patrick just wide swings in from Con. It just sucks. It really hurts to see. False investment again coming in from Endpoint, though. They won the pistol. Lose the follow-up. You know what it's like. We had it on Ancient. Now we've got it here on Mirage. And Max thought about deploying that incendiary. Will now, after a little bit of a delay. No one's home. And aggressive flashbangs for Endpoint. They really want mid.
Smoke for underpass. Yeah, both teams wanting it. It seems as they're just huddling outside of this foothold. Surreal, though, taking some space towards the top of mid. There's 2 players around this angle. Nicky gets caught with some utility, very likely, as he swings out for the fences. That's bomb dropped here. And that's going to complicate things big time as Ships pulls it back into his favor. It looked to collapse, but Danislaw's low. There's a whole lot more that they have to deal with. There's the first piece of the puzzle found out there by Patrick, though. Taking care of business. That's 2 rifles dropped that were saved in the last round.
Oh, Endpoint, it just feels like they're a little bit over-eager. They drop the bomb, and then they're just like, oh, there's the bomb. And they just run at it. But they don't consider their options. They were holding underpass, and then they give it for just a second. And that's when 500 strike.
Ooh.
That's a fantastic shot from MHL. 3 on 3. And check out Heavy God in ramp. This is going to go so far undetected, and it might not even matter because Vessel's found another kill on the Deagle. Up comes Heavy God, and oh no, it's a disaster.
Oh,
or is
but
it?
he contains it. He recovers. 10 seconds, and they didn't fight CT. Fesser's just standing here. And he bites. He doesn't immediately peek. Actually, Heavy God catches him on the retreat, and Heavy God, he might have looked a little bit shaky at the beginning. We'll close it out. He'll finish the job that he started. Just makes it a little bit more entertaining for us. An Endpoint able to get away with that. 500, a distinct lack of commitment in that 3v3. You have got to test Fester in that CT spawn angle. I don't know if they knew that he was low on HP, so barring that, you know, they didn't fully realize, but you can't just let him sit in CT spawn with no map control and you figure out that there's a player towards ramp and you don't want to take that fight. That's too far removed. So you need to isolate that duel, and they decide, you know, to avoid all fights on all fronts right there. It's a huge round to recover from, and the back and forth is going to continue to kick off here at Force Buy, probably going to continue to be brought to the table by 500 as well.
I'm excited. This is really fun. I love it when teams trade rounds like this, and we just get investment after investment, and it's really cool. I'm so excited to see this, but at the same time, I just hope Endpoint win. As in this round, because that means that will force the hand. It means they'll have a little bit more comfort heading into the future rounds. The one thing you don't want to be on the receiving end of this is the CT side, because the economy is so fragile anyway. But it does make for good viewing, so I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, it's a good time all around there. Maybe not so much for these two teams. One of them is just so eager to win 2 in a row and finally put an end to this chaos. Right now, it's Endpoint in a firm position to strike. This time around, though, they've left a lot liable towards the mid control here. No ground here taken. Don't want to deal with that in a round like this, it seems. A little bit of B presence shown, but doesn't sell any rotates here. They're committed to the 3-2. A lot of emphasis put on the sights here. Flashes to control ramp. Now the mid control is finally being taken, but we're only a minute left into the round here, so and the time it's going to take here to work around middle, clear out these angles, it's going to buy some valuable time here for Endpoint. They're going to take that time to grab that ramp control here deep as well. Heavy God continues to press forward, and now they've got a nasty little setup.
Although, when 500 can do that,
Sure.
I mean, what can you do about it? One plant can't be denied. MHL, well, the AK is not his most proficient weapon, and as a result, falls to ships. The real now tries his best, but suddenly it's a 4 versus 2, and the setup that looks so good gets completely cracked apart by 2 kills.
My God. That's a statement right there, man. Turning that corner into Heavy God, I thought for sure that they would be able to lock things down with that sort of angle, and I thought maybe that there would be a little bit more jiggling coming through from the likes of Fesser, right? You could kind of jiggle the bottom of ramp, and then Heavy God could hold that off angle. It's like a bait and switch setup. That's what I thought they were going to go for there, but, you know, they just tuck in Heavy God right there, and to be fair, credit for hard clearing that angle for 500. But it is kind of a tough angle to deal with, all right? You kind of have to worry about the upper angles and getting cleared there. There's not that big shadow advantage that you can maybe take inside of the ramp or something like that. So Endpoint, of course, going to force buy back. There's no surprise there.
No. I don't even know where it's going to go anymore. Which is fantastic.
Me either. All over the map right now.
Very slow. Endpoint moving in pairs. Look at this pushing towards middle as well. Max, Surreal. Giving it a look in. Chips is holding for this, though, very passively. And there's currently no one on B for Endpoint.
Ooh, window smoke just tossed in. They still have that B stack. They have to worry a little bit about this underpass position from Nicky. Nicky's ready to strike here. He's ready to disjoint. If he was pushing out now, he would catch a back turn. But no, Mighty Max and Surreal, the 2 rifles. They find the 2 opening picks right now. And Heavy God just needs to buy time in this underbuff. That smoke that he's just tossed on top of the molly is going to do just that. There's a flash from to extend. They move past the bench. Smoked Denizlaw and Patrick. They start to pull things back, but it's just Rainwaker and Denizlaw now left. And they don't have sight. They don't have the bomb plant here. 40 seconds. They don't have a lot of time to just kind of reposition. Nor the resources at this point. Those smokes are soon going to fade, and now they're going to have to fight their way out of this spot.
Steady just clearing spawn to see, well, if we fall silent here, will Endpoint potentially rotate? Well, the answer is a flat no. Reload heard as well by the CT side. Vessel going up and over the stairs. No. Dealt with by Rainwaker. Bomb needs to commit now. And Surreal goes through the smoke on the contact of Max. That is fantastic for Endpoint. They lock it in. And well, we're going to keep on going. Bomb plant for 500. More than enough to enable more AKs, more rifles.
Wow. That is massive work right there from Endpoint. Beautifully read around. Like you said, even in that 2v2, I don't think they could have played it any better. So perfect stuff coming through from them. Of course, though, like you had said, bomb plant here, it's going to give them another opportunity here. Either one of these teams waving the white flag just yet, man. This time a lot more emphasis put on mid early. They weren't too happy with how that last round shaped up. My god, though, MHL doesn't need an op. Denizlaw gets sidelined here, but Fesser gets taken down over towards ramp. Aggressing forward. Of course, Heavy God, though, pulls it back, and it's back to the man advantage here maintained by the boys over at Endpoint. Again, a lot on the line here in winning this round.
I think difference is that this AWP can post on angles and find opportunities, something that neither team have had for quite a while. Rainwaker can also upgrade his weapon to an AK, which he does. MHL slides back in towards middle.
There's a flank towards top of mid as well.
That's true.
I mean, this essentially has a timer on Nicky's life. Top box is... Oh, he starts to flank towards T-spawn, so Nicky might have some impact here. Shibs! Oh, there's absolutely no way. But they're going to walk back here, and now the flank is going to catch him. Yeah, he's too far deep there, so the footsteps not being heard towards the top of middle, and then there's Surreal stepping up. Not good for the trade either as Rainwaker, and poor Nicky, bit fortunate to still stay alive here, but without the bomb, without the round here most likely. And finally, I think Endpoint are going to do it. I think they're going to put an end to this back and forth. There's no way. Not enough time. He's getting cut off as well.
He gets cut off. Yeah, no time. I can't believe Ships hit that shot onto Heavy God, by the way. That is ridiculous. Yeah. You're completely right. The fact that Endpoint win the round, they break the back and forth of fair. That's now consecutive rounds in a row, and that forces 500 into an eco.
Finally a bit of relief here for Endpoint. This has to feel so good. They know that they've done it. Despite the constant back and forth. Getting 2 in a row. Denizlaw just having some fun right now in this round. That's about all you can have fun with. In this case here, Nicky's... Unless he's good for a couple kills here. Shouldn't be able to get too much. Always with these mid setups here. Endpoint, they always have something special cooked up for us in mid control. It's never, you know, the stock standard.
Feels great. Endpoint, Fessor.
Wow.
Holds an MHL in top mid. That is absolutely fantastic. And that is best case scenario. Everyone stays alive for Endpoint. They now create a bit more of a buffer. Remember that Nicky saved, so his money is really not ideal compared to the rest of his roster.
If you're 500, you're obviously going to buy here, but if you're Endpoint, you know you're in a powerful position. All you have to do is keep things up here. That was a great mid defense. That was a statement mid defense. Throwing out right there. I know it was up against a lot of pistols, but the fact that Fester's able to hold the line with 2, he doesn't allow that trade to come through. You can see the fear that they're striking in towards this mid control here. Beautiful. Lands the shot still. No kill confirmed, but there's going to be a barrage of CTs ready to close things. And Nicky's never going to be feeling confident to turn that corner. Actually, I say that. He's on top of the boxes right now. Of course. And I'm almost certain that they saw that light go out. Yeah, you can see that immediately once that happens. Yeah, they start to spam down. Ships is in a scary spot right now. And There's a kill from MHL.
Much, much better from Endpoint. It's just feeling really good. They're kind of going through the motions now. It's exactly what they need. Max finds Rainwaker for good measure. Bomb can make its way potentially up towards A, but with 40 seconds left, a 5 versus 3, Nikki only on the Deagle. Looks like they will give this a go because Patrick, well, was being noisy over towards B. But there's still 3 over in CT. That's your issue if you're 500. I don't think this bomb ever goes down.
No, especially now that you got Mighty Max on catwalk here. There's no safe place to plant anymore. There's a jiggle. As soon as you hear the bomb tapped, they immediately dispatch it. 13 locked in. Endpoint. They win another key round here. And now they're looking keyed up to close this map. Like we said here, heading into this decided, both teams very strong on overpass. It's been a long time stable for 500. But it's been a new, just, you know, I feel like vacation for Endpoint, right? They're looking forward to this third map here. They're feeling confident on this third map, and they're going to feel even more confident if they can head in with all that momentum.
However, whenever you think of 500, you really heavily associate them with overpass. That's why it's set to be an absolute barn burner. Heavy guard. Oh, just stays rooted. Can't find Rainwaker because he's got no HP, but... What?
Oh, no. Not like this,
No,
Ships.
no.
He finds 2. He gets out of dodge. The A site claimed as well. Oh, no. One more could be added to the tally. MHL lucky to walk away with his life. They don't miss that often. When they do, you got to capitalize off of it. A little bit of leeway given, and MHL takes it a mile. Patrick going to get caught off guard as well. Can't find it, and now it's all on the Ships. It's not planted for him. The bomb is going to be stuck here. Endpoint, they hold steady. 14 to 10 right there. Despite the best efforts, Ships shaking his head in frustration.
Three kills come in, and that's your confidence. Rainwaker just wants to swing. Play an off angle. Gets absolutely domed. And from there, your Deagle's been taking all of the contact anyway, so they know exactly where he is from Endpoint. What a fantastic recovery. I thought they were going to completely falter. I thought 500 were going to battle their way back in, but no. Endpoint keep on growing. 14 rounds, plays 10, just 2 away from overpass. Nikki can't get past Heavy God.
Molly just shrouds too much vision. Now they very much so look to chase things down. A headshot comes through from Patrick. It's overkill, but the trade is quick. Professor, the recovery it's already made. Oof, to make matters worse. Now, Tetris is mollied off there. Denislaw flushed into the open. They're just going to fully plant it. Taking a huge risk. That's what they have to do here. The number's already punched in. They've got the palm plant. The shot rattles off there. Denislaw catches a little bit of flack there through the wood, but able to still stay alive. And Ships again covers off the flank. It's been huge in the mid round. Tag lands and Denislaw gets flushed into the open. MHL just continues to do damage. Rainwaker responds with a headshot of his own, and the bomb isn't really planted for Ships. He's not going to have a huge impact in this round. Palace is probably being covered as well. He still lands a kill. MHL unable to find it. Needs to land last, and Ships just barely able to close things out. He couldn't do it. He wasn't afforded the opportunity in that last round. Well, finally, he gets his chance. And they'll stay off of series point for a little while longer. Or map point, I should say.
This ending to the game is a mess in all of the right ways. Like, it is so chaotic. Every team is just kind of taking advantages. They're trying to go for these fights. It's absolutely incredible. And somehow 500 survived that. It didn't look possible. It really felt like Endpoint were just making the map reach its logical conclusion. But 500 is still very much in this. Denislaw back on the AWP. Rainwaker now just starts to shift out. No one's home at CT. Heavy God is in sandwich. Will Denny clear this? Oh, he will now. Because Rainwaker's just walked into him.
If he got able to dispatch of it, though, it's a 1-for-1 trade. And we'll see if it triggers any rotations. I mean, it hasn't really sold anything just yet. You spotted out Rainwaker and the presence of Ninja's Law. But there's huge map movements just yet. They're still waiting patiently. They're going to take some priority elsewhere, and that's why I guess you can get away with it. MHL was still alive, covering the cross to sight until he strikes. That's when you finally see the movement, and he's found a kill. He's already in CT spawn. Bomb is down in the middle of nowhere. And the rotations have already arrived. They're all closing in. This is shaping up to be way too sour. Slight lack of proactivity comes through from 500. Once they had a chance to strike, it's no longer the case. The window has closed and the shot's missed. MHL will cap it off. Endpoint on 15, one away from closing.
I think what happened there is 500 used 2 Molotovs in towards jungle, and none of them touched MHL. Just the positioning of them, it didn't spread into the doorway. MHL was able just to tuck in, and he actually found a kill, which alleviates a lot of the pressure and also confirms a lot of suspicions for Endpoint. And I agree. And then because of that issue, they then couldn't take advantage of the space, and they'd left it way too late. Really agree with what you're saying there. It just feels so difficult for 500 once they lose the tempo.
Oh. So MHL, he's going to be a real strong suit with the CT side up. That's an overheat. We've all been there. He may be feeling a little too strong. And you jump in towards underpass. I can't say that I've not made the same play. And luckily, he has a lot of other teammates here around him. Fester's been playing just as well. Heavy God's been an asset on this B anchoring. And so they're still maintaining a man advantage despite a little bit of trolling, a little bit of goofing. No worries. Surreal will cover up B. And they will close this one out pretty confidently here. As Patrick, he's been spotted towards the top of middle. Fester looking to close things off with a nice little fight. Wrap it up with a nice little bow. Patrick won't give him the opportunity just yet. Goes and grabs the bomb and spawn instead.
Yeah, this one feels quite done. Patrick now starting to creep his way forward. We'll hit a time in here where Heavy God isn't looking at him, which would normally be like, oh, that's quite scary. Issue is it's literally 1v4, and Heavy God just on a swivel, hits the headshot immediately. Endpoint recover. They take their map pick, and they're going to force us to this decider, and I am really excited for Overpass.
Yeah, I mean, that one right there, you could see the back and forth. We could see the strength of both teams there on Mirage, but you saw Endpoint after they finally broke through the streak, the back and forth, that they really took that CT side the extra mile. And like you said, now Overpass looming ahead of us here. It's going to look very strong, right? I said it. It's such a strong suit for this new look Endpoint team. They've been playing very good this year on it. Throughout the different iterations, and so I still think that confidence is going to be there. Fester's been playing a hell of a game. MHL is landing some big CT side shots versus 500, who have always used Overpass as a staple map. I mean, this is going to be a real exciting decider, guys. You're going to want to stay tuned for it. We're going to be tossed into a quick break, and once we come back, map number 3 to see who moves on.
very complicated job, but I love simple things so much. One move. One push. One touch. One love. One click. One X-bet.
Tired of boring case openings? Do you always get only cheap skins? The Hellcase website has tons of options to upgrade your inventory. It's up to you to participate in giveaways, events, or compete with other players in opening cases. Hellcase, your world of expensive skins.
The hunger for glory feeds the desire, the courage to look for a challenge, to feed your ambitions. To reach for greatness. To become the champion of champions.
Welcome back in, everyone. It's a decider map between 500 and Endpoint Overpass. And, well, I feel like we've set this quite well. We've said, look, 500, one of their best maps ever, is Overpass. They've been consistent on it for absolute donkey's years. I think like 3-4 years now is what it feels like. Endpoint, they're on an 8-map winning streak on it right now. And also, you've got all the individuals firing now for Endpoint, which is the difference compared to Ancient as we had on Mirage. Do you have any predictions? Do you have any idea where this potentially is going? I think it hinges a lot on the knife round. If we could see it, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that would be great. It's tough to say. Well, we'll be hopping into that knife round for you all real quick to see who's going to be getting that W, getting that side selection. But like you said, man, it really does come down to, I think, some of the individual performance comes through from these rosters. MHL, he really heated up there on the CT side opping, like we'd expect him to do on the CT side of Mirage. So that's going to be, a big test here for 500 if they can deal with that as well. Right? They're taking some backstabs there.
Oh, hang on.
Little 1v1. Heavy God. Oh, stand still. How do you isolate these fights? That's always the question. You need to come up with some trickery. Ooh. Need some movement. You need some fancy. Look at the way they're playing, man.
Oh, no, that's it.
Oh,
Nearly. He's got moves. He was bobbing and weaving, ducking and diving through, but unfortunately for Endpoint, 500 win the knife, and you can only imagine they can start on the CT side. It was the T side that really struggled for Endpoint on Ancient, although, actually, I say that, the middling portion looked really good for them. I'm worried now, though, that they start on T side. I think whoever started on the defense was going to get a significant boost to their confidence going into this.
yeah, I think that this is a great way to kind of cool off MHL's opping, is to get him on that T side start. Maybe make sure that he's not able to get away with the same stuff he was getting away with on Mirage. That's going to be a key detail here in this series. The fact that, he's not going to just be able to hold angles, get away with some of the crossfires. That's going to delay out his presence and maybe stop some of that momentum that they were bringing in from that last map. All that being said, though, we are hopping into the decider. Winner of this one will move forward here and go on to our quarterfinals.
Also, I say 8-map winning streak. That is true, but that's since January. Endpoint have played Overpass 3 times in March against BNE against Nexus, and against AGO. It's going to be quite difficult, I think. Oh dear. Oh my
goodness.
god.
What a way to kick things off right there. A warm welcome from Ships. Welcome to Overpass here. As they just get dominated on the inbound. That's bomb dropped as well. And a chance to pick up the pieces here for MHL. They're waiting for this. Crosshair placement a little bit high, but as Denislow takes that close angle, maybe he's in the right spot. No, not quite. Heavy God. I'll look for the 1v4 with his head on a swivel. He's being spotted out here as well. Can allow for other players to close in on his location. What do you got for his Heavy God? You got a little 1v4 kicks off. Pistol. Spotted out and just peppered on in. It's two players keeping 100 HP there, but only Patrick can get that cheap upgrade. It's just a little detail there. 350 on the head armor there for Patrick. Not a bad deal. And definitely not a bad round for the boys over at 500.
I mean, what more could you ask for? A deep flash in towards short pipe. The dual Berettas goes around the corner and can fire 30 bullets off instantly. That is fantastic. And that really plays into what you were saying before we went live. Not just about MHL, but stopping Endpoint's game plan. Really disrupting them before they could even achieve anything. That's got to be the priority. And because 500 can just feel so confident on this map, they're more than willing just to keep taking these fights. I mean, look, Ships is back here again, and he found another opening. He's 4-0, technically, in short engagements.
Some of the 1Ds that we've been seeing come back out there, but unbelievably, Nick just pops a couple shots off through the wall there to keep it level. And a boost assembled to take care of that connector presence. This forced by not going the way that they had hoped. It's just a very little economic damage done. Now this boost up. Oh, hadn't spotted Heavy God. I almost doubt they had. Could have been a blimp on the radar. But unsure. So it might give him a false sense of security on this B-bomb site, and then that's your avenue. That's your way back into this round here. If you're Endpoint, you do need to land some shots, but it's very likely. Oh, there's one. And there's the other. Mighty Max catches him on the timing. What is going on there? Patrick and Ships caught completely off guard, and they just nailed it. That's exactly what they needed to do right there. Guns picked up as well. On the top rope, Nicky falls. Danny's Law left into the clutch, and he's known. No kid either. He has to figure out a way to find Mighty Max out of this pit position. It's not really planted fully for Mighty Max here. There's not a lot of time left. Bomb half ticked. Mighty Max huddles inside the pit. There's no way this is how we kick things off here. 4-on-2 recovery mission. And Mighty Max just needs to buy time. He's done that brilliantly. Dennis Law, is there enough time to get the defuse on off? He seems like there is.
No, there isn't.
No.
Right.
He's gonna bail.
A little fun trick that I got taught this by Ryan. Shout out Retro. On the HUD, you see where the thick black lines meets like the team name. So it's like goes from light grey to black. We'll see it clearer now,
There
right?
it is.
When the team names shrink down, so we'll have End versus 500. As soon as the black meets the light grey, that is 5 seconds left for the defuse.
I gotta know how he even figured that out.
I don't know, but you see the bomb
Yeah, I
timer
see
will
that right
appear
there.
over the firepower. When the black meets the light grey, that's 5 seconds left. So that's how we know if they've got time or not.
Wow. It's good to know. Little chunks.
There you go.
That's good stuff from Retro doing his research there. That is a tough round to lose, though. They have no business losing that round. That was a huge gap being brought out there from 500, and it might cost him. I mean, that early advantage, the way that started as well. Ships, he's been playing flawless over towards that short side. He goes over towards long. He's bested early, and things could spiral. Endpoint very happy with the end result right there. And Mighty Max, he's done it again with some of these big clutches in this series.
Okay. That is a horrible clear from the side of Nicky, but an immediate trade coming in. 4 versus 3. The real now waiting for Max to take next point of contact in Monster. This is really well played, and Rainwaker can't find anything with his Deagle. Nade can go in, it won't do too much damage. Denny versus 4.
Maybe advised just to save. Only bringing in a scout into the next round. That's exactly what they'll do. Interesting bit of positioning right now, though, all throughout the map. One player in T-spawn, one player over towards the long side right, trying to keep things contained. One over towards short. It's like they're kind of hoping that, you know, Daniel's Law runs into them with these sort of positions, but not going to do that. Mighty Max exits the round as well. Endpoint. They put an end to the Force by Wars early. We talked about that on Mirage, right? The back and forth nature of these two teams. But this one, I think, is going to be even more scary, right? 500 were in a prime position to close the round out. They let that slide. And now they're letting Endpoint build up some foundations on this T side.
And the T side is where we thought, well, I thought initially, I'm not going to group you and throw you under the bus with me. I thought Endpoint were going to struggle. I thought it was going to be very difficult for them to kind of build in a semblance of control, especially after they lose the pistol in such a harrowing way. The fact that they've responded immediately, they've actually forced the hand of 500 now into economic disarray, and Heavy God's just feeling keen. He's giving it just a little look in with the Mac 10. Patrick, see you later. Next to the chopping block, potentially, was Rainwaker, but gets bailed out by ships.
Oof. It's a brilliant HE, though. Dunked on in there. So ships, he was heating up there, but they don't give him another fight to take, right? So he cools off, and he catches an HE in the meantime. 4 players, though. Rotating back in towards this A-bomb site could be very interesting. Everyone's here. Everyone's ready. But it is only pistols. And they've lost one of their better bits of firepower. It's a trade back from Nikki, but they will collapse quickly. And Rainwaker, nothing really to save here. Doesn't want to dive through the flames straight up. Doesn't want to completely seal his fate, but he's going to stick around behind the smoke here to see if he can find some exit kills, something along those lines. Surreal hasn't tossed in a single bit of utility. Doesn't need to at this point. You just hold on. Just sent back down the stairs. Professor will find him. And we'll see Endpoint get that 3-0 start, including losing the pistol.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's round 5. 500. This is the first time they've been able to put together a comprehensive full buy. Now you're going up against full AKs that Endpoint have already brought over from the previous. What's a good threshold here? What's a good break point for Endpoint on the T side? Because obviously every single round, one of these rounds is going to be a premium. I think we normally look towards 6, but I don't want to always say 6. We'll see how this altercation goes on short ships. He just always wins it. Always secures it. But fortunately for Endpoint, there's an immediate trade from Heavy God. I think 7. I think Endpoint, if they get 7 rounds, they should be looking, well, in incredible shape to take the series.
Yeah, 7 or 6 is definitely comfortable.
Oh,
I was looking at some of the A-side aggression, and I was just kind of watching it on the mini-map there. I was like, oh, they're getting good space, but there's 2 fights that they're about to take, and I saw them in unison, just the lights go out on the mini-map of the 2 players pushing. And something you've been saying here is the quick collapse that 500 can bring. You know, they'll be willing to take those isolated bits of aggression there for sure. And just in terms of like what the minimap looked, that's a prime example of it. Heavy got all the way out towards B. Bomb is over towards A though. And what they don't realize here is that Mighty Max could just stroll his way on in towards that A bomb site.
He's going to as well, because look, you got the Denny flank. Everything points to Endpoint going B right now. And Heavy God, the more time he sells here, it's fantastic to get Endpoint a bomb plant, and they will lock it in. And Heavy God even taking one to the grave with him. Is that enough for Max to clutch a 1 versus 3?
There's no kits. That's a key detail here. It's 10-second diffuses. And no smokes either. So if he can isolate these fights in bathroom, that can be huge. He didn't take too much damage in that fight either.
Oh. Nice try. I like the initiative. He gets the kill. He spins around. He's slightly in the open. It's a bit more of an off angle. But no, Rainwaker will secure. Nice try from Max. The fact that Endpoint, they go into that round, what is it? 2 versus 4. Max finds a massive pocket of space out towards A. Heavy God gets a kill to sell it further. It's good economic damage onto an already weakened economy for 500. And it's still a bomb plant, which supplements your economy a little bit further despite losing the round if you're Endpoint. MHL could now bring out an AWP. So it feels good despite it not being the best outcome.
No doubt. Yeah, you'll definitely take that. The small little wins that you've been able to grab towards the tail end there. 4-on-2s, it looks like it's their specialty right now with the way this third map has been brought together. Some really strong recovery missions being done. Short control established this time with less presence from Ships. The Smalley will flush Heavy God out of position, but Ships doesn't get away with it this time. Instead, Heavy God deals with him. A beautiful headshot rings on out, and complicating matters even further. Fesser dancing with that angle. And now, so much control given on this A side. Front bathrooms is already established. In a 4-on-5. So you know you're going to need to call on a rotate, right? That's exactly what they do. They bring Nikki up. And they start to try and grab some control. Denny's Law going aggressive. But this is being anticipated for. And watched MHL turns the corner right into his demise for Dennis Law. And I think at this point you just gamble if you're 500 on a bomb site.
Yeah. And that's what they're doing. Heavy God gets the confirmation. He's low HP already, so just goes into the fight. And it does lock it up. Nikki can deploy an incendiary, but it's not really going to have too much ramifications onto the progression of Endpoint. Bomb down. And I don't think you go for this. Yeah, this is the right decision. Talking about the money already, how fragile it is for 500 because they've been disrupted early by Endpoint. And now they're just going to run away, try and hold on to 3 weapons. 2 of those being AKs, that'd be a fantastic save. And given the money for Endpoint as well, I don't think they're going to hunt this.
No, not too worth it, right? Would make sense. Just call it quits. Still going to be a very effective purchase brought into this next round, or at least maybe not a lot purchased, but there's going to be a lot brought to the table here. Loss bonus is still stacked rather high. Dennis Law and Ships might be out to dry, but 500 given a huge foothold to the boys over at Endpoint here early on. And that round's just completely cleaned up by the amount of ground that they're able to take. They have both short control and front bathrooms. I don't really know how they were able to get away with that much space on A. But when you see Heavy God find the initial pick right there, and then you look on the other side of the map, and Fesser's all the way up in front bathrooms, you're like, what's going on here in 500's defense? To where they have absolutely zero map control and the entirety of the server, right? I mean, 4 players playing on the B bomb site and 1 player just playing jump spot on A. It's like you do need to have a little bit more of a foothold than that.
I think it's a combination of several things. And I really like that you're touched on this because 500, what do we expect from them? It's aggressive control. It's extremity pushing. It's really taking the fights on their whim, on their tempo. And for Endpoint, where they've been conditioning so heavily over towards B, 500 just think, okay, well, let's have a round where we get a boost up, we get a significant stack in, and we can potentially secure a kill. There's a cool boost going on. I don't know if we can watch that. Where's MHL looking? It's on top of Mighty Max's head right now. Heavy God does find one, and then there's an immediate trade. Door swings open, and Vessel deals with Ships.
It's a huge risk right there from Fesser. I don't know if he fully cleared out top of connector. Yeah, he just threw a molly, so he's just risking for the trade right there, everything in that round. And fortunately for him, he gets away with it because there's no comm presence. So a huge 1-for-1, or I guess 2-for-1 at the end of the day, that Endpoint walk away with pretty happy. But there's a chance to hold on. This time they do have some of the aggressive control, a push on the extremity, but that's just Denny's Law. That's not one of the rifles, actually, so... I had a little bit more faith in this, but...
Never
Denny's Law.
underestimate the 5-7.
That's a good point. Great point here, especially close range at angles. MHL needs to trade, misses the first shot. Takes a point of damage, but now he's playing around the headshot angle, and oh, you're so right. The bomb's been dropped, but Denny's Law, he extends a little too far forward, and the site is claimed here by the likes of Surreal on the site. Surreal's holding down the line, and he's going to cut off rotations. There you go.
Fantastic. Gets scary, if you're right. If he had an M4 there, that round plays out so differently. Patrick versus 3. Patrick versus 2. Okay. Bomb has only just gone down as well. That's a massive gap in the smoke, but that allows MHL to post. Patrick jump spots out. Player at Flowers and finds Vessel and MHL as well. How on earth has Patrick found that? But it keeps 500 in the bout a little bit longer. Oh my goodness me.
Clutch looked so very easy right there for Patrick. Honestly, if you're Endpoint, you're probably feeling confident enough you're just going to take those fights right there, but when you look back at that round, you're like, oh man, we could have just fell back to bathrooms, right? The post plants, they were playing it like they were up in a hefty lead, and they are. They're in a good position, but they're wishing they had that round right there. They're wishing they had that back. They could have played it. Because that's a way for 500 to re-inspire, get a little bit of that confidence going here on the CT side. And it's not going to let that lead for Endpoint get too far out of the picture, right? It's still a good position. You're up 3-4 in the half, but 500 obviously can come back so easily from this scoreline if they're able to string things together.
Although, Surreal wants to take matters into his own hands. Been very good since being largely absent on Ancient. Patrick, hero of last round, potentially needs to be hero in this, as he has got support on B, but he will be the first point of contact.
There's the XX smokes tossed in, but it doesn't seem like it's too much of a commitment because everyone's heading up connector, and Heavy God, he swung for one more. But what's interesting here is that they send 2 players back up. Okay, there's no commitment just yet at all. Bomb is still over towards B. They're starting to default a little bit of presence towards that A side. Dennis Law is left alone, and he's just spotted out one towards bathrooms here. When 40 seconds hits and they have 1 bathrooms, 1 long, I do feel like it would have to be an A side play. And I wonder if that's going to be in the back of 500's mind, or if they just trust that Dennis Law has done enough. And I think that's exactly what they're doing. Dennis Law, beautiful defense on this A side. He's tagged and bagged to kill, but Surreal catches Patrick aggressing a little bit too premature. And Nikki, not going to be able to have a say in this round outside of that kill. They won't be able to stop the bomb plant, but at least he does pull one back.
Yeah, and Nikki... Oh, I was going to say, feel like he's gone undetected. Now it's just Denny versus Max. Max has fallen all the way back towards Monster. There is a kit, but there's no smoke. So Denny will have to do the old scope trick. No, instead, just fakes it. Max fights time. Denny misses the shot. And Max fully capitalizes upon it. Another 1 versus 2. Falling in favor of Endpoint. These rounds back and forth. Only favoring the T side.
That's the key detail. It's going to continue to favor the T side right there. And Endpoint, they lose that last round, or 2 rounds prior now at this point. But the game plan that they come with, you can actually see the perfect flash setup for Heavy God to aggress forward on short. Surreal lands a kill, but then they throw a follow-up exec there that wasn't even a full, like, commitment. It was just Heavy God's on half HP, already taking that short control. We're going to give him a little bit of resources to take further ground. And Heavy God finds another frag off the back of that exec. They're able to push and pull the map control, and I thought, you know, Patrick, all he had to do was post up there. He gets a little bit inquisitive and gives it up, and I can understand why, right? I feel like they needed a little bit of information to take that round the extra mile. And it's tough when Dennis Law does such a great job of defending A. You know, lands a tag and a frag, but not enough at the end of the day.
What a performance. We said 6 would be good. Here's your chance. An AWP. An MP9. That's it. That's the spearhead of your attack. Nikki, could be a great nade here, but it isn't really. Softens up a little bit. Normally, you say, oh, that makes them susceptible to a one-shot headshot for the A4s. Well, where are they? They're not here.
None of that being brought to the table. The one-shot headshots from the Deagles, though. Those are still a thing at any HP. And they have had some good work with the Deagles and before rounds prior. Oh, Fesser. Already taking advantage of what is the hero op. Dropping that to the floor. Rainmaker hasn't been spotted, but he hasn't been doing too much here. So we'll see if he can start to turn up here now. Fesser jumping on top of that. He just never gives him a chance, right? He never overextends. He's never caught off guard. He's just so very aware of the possibility of these positions. You know, it looked like he was going to land one through the smoke. Not just yet. Instead, we'll hold on to a 5v3. Huddled around behind the smoke here. So right backpacking. That's going to be enough encouragement to call the save.
Super well played. A lot of elements for that round to go wrong as well, potentially, for Endpoint. But Fessor just wants to take matters into his own hands. Really good stuff. And as a result, Endpoint, they will find that 6th. I'm not really too sure what the money's going to be like for 500. We're going to see in just a few seconds here. And it's terrible. Endpoint really should capitalize on this if they can. 7 rounds would be phenomenal. Bearing in mind that this is 500's bread and butter. And we're just not really seeing the same 500 that I expected to see. Ships has just, well, 3 kills since the second round. Because he got the triple with the dual Berettas, and then he got the single one with the fight in towards short. From there, Rainwaker, for me, so absent. I called him dependable. I called him capable. When it matters most, Cole, it really isn't delivering.
Yeah, he's a bit too quiet right now, for sure. This is high pressure, right? I said that these guys have a high floor when it comes to making deep runs, doing damage in playoffs, and I knew that Endpoint was going to be a really tricky first piece of the puzzle to do that again, right? They had a great performance in North Europe. They're looking to bring that energy here into West, but they're getting stalled out big time. And this decider, and up against, you know, the first matchup here, a pretty new look Endpoint. We're not sure if they're going to be able to bring the same strengths. Well, they're giving us a quick answer here. Flashbang, it's perfectly placed, but of course Surreal steps out in time to deal with some damage here. It's a response. Last 2 players are actually over here on the B-bomb side, but they're still up against a whole lot. Patrick with another burst onto the headshot, but of course, they're going to get overrun. Ships is your last line of hope. He's shown his cards. He's revealed his hand. Endpoint up to 7. 500 continue to stall out here.
So impressed. So impressed with Endpoint. Coming out of the player break in 2023, it was clear that teams had worked on the T side. It wasn't as defense heavy as it was in the back end of 2022, but still, this is a really big scoreline, and the potential is there to build even more. Played exceptionally well. Fessor even finds Nikki in the smoke and goes for one more on Rainwaker. It is disgusting.
I love the way... Oh, Heavy God finds another kill. I was going to say, I love the way that Fesser is able to play off the back of his teammate there as well. I feel like Fesser and Heavy God, 2 huge assets to this Endpoint team. Especially in this third map, man. The pressure's on. And Heavy God is fragging big time here. More than he's done the entire series so far. Fesser's just keeping up his consistency. He was even good on Ancient, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he was.
And it's making this job increasingly difficult here. This is a full investment. This was a full buy. And it could just get swiped aside. Ships, he looks to stand tall. It's just Patrick, man. 1 kill so far. I don't think Patrick's going to be the one to extend it any further. And the hot streak continues. Money is building. Confidence is swarming. And Endpoint, they're going to win the half here. We said 7 was enough. They've already gotten 8.
Fantastic. As well, another key thing to think about with this Endpoint roster is while you've got young personalities, you have got the experience from Max and Surreal, of course, but where you've got MHL, Fessor, Heavy God, really young, up-and-coming prospects into the scene, the fact that in the middle of the game, Patrick gets that 1 versus 3, it's incredible. A really good clutch, but it's the making of Endpoint from their positioning, from also that smoke that was a little bit wide, but they don't spiral. Between Endpoint, I want to say, even 2 weeks ago, and Endpoint now, it just feels like they're feeling a lot more comfortable, and the communication and the direction and belief is there. And this is why they're able to not only build back into the series on Mirage, but give such a good showing here on Overpass at the moment. This is aggressive. Surreal could be caught out, but again, it's just against pistols. Heavy God, it feels like he always finds these openers. There will be that flank kill confirmed for Denny, but now MHL has just posted.
Oh my goodness. Heavy God and Fessor just a 2-man wrecking ball into the bomb site. Heavy God with 3 on this round, 15 kills to his name so far. Fessor on 10. A lot of those are first kills. A lot of those are initiation frags, and it is doing everything for this T side. It's 9. They're extending even further. I mean, obviously this one, like you said, was just pistols, but they're gonna let them save here once again. I mean, I don't even mind them letting them save. It's not worth the hunt here. You can continue to build that economy, and it's not like the gun rounds have been a huge liability for you. They've been able to deal with those just as confident. Endpoint farming themselves up a storm. 500 needs something to go their way soon.
Yeah, now the attention turns to 500. It's a response that's needed immediately. 6 rounds. That's now the maximum you can grab. Orb coming in for Denny. Drops the AK over as well for Ships. Something's got to change. We've seen a lot of long extremity pushes. Haven't seen anything too focused over towards Monster in quite a while. Maybe you take the ground in towards short, you split in with your connector player, and you take that control back instead. But Ships is,
oh my goodness.
Oh dear, how does that happen? How are you allowing that to happen?
Even Molly was done. Oh, they are out B. They are out Monster right now, and luckily Patrick's able to maintain some composure. I can't believe you didn't get taken down there. That is insanity. What on earth is going on here? Everyone hits the floor on this side of Endpoint. Patrick gets away with his life. And 26 HP to his name. The fact that they are even contesting this round, considering the way this had started. Patrick, I thought he was going to get blindsided. Well, that is something you can take an extra mile here, but can't really afford to go for these peaks here. Mighty Max getting baited out. And knife? No. They're not in a position to knife right yet. They got to make sure they're locking in rounds and locking in 2 kills further as Ships. Should be coasting to a closer. Should be coasting to a 4th.
All right. We asked 500 to deliver. They do so flawlessly. Which is a good start. But again, have you left it too late? This looks so good. For the T side, 500, that was fantastic. Despite Nikki nearly, I think it was Nikki or Ships just nearly burning alive at the start of that round as well. To then not concede a player is incredible.
Gotta be the start of something, you know, long lasting here.
Double con. That's new.
It's probably to deal with Fessor. His antics here. In the meantime, they're gonna run it right on back. The same play here. This time, Patrick gets caught with utility out. That's Heavy nice. God capitalizes. Another entry, and Surreal follows up. Things could spiral here. Nikki is caught in no man's land, and my God. the last two players are the double con setup that they started this round off with, but they won't have any say. They won't have any business in this round here. Denislaw and Rainwaker rotating off here, and it's going to be double digits on Endpoint's T side.
That
And
was
now?
a really nice variation. Sorry to jump in.
No,
but
no, you're good. I'm
they-
just saying, they can just battle for a hunt if they wanted to, but
Yeah, if they really wanted to, and it wouldn't be out the realms of possibility. But that endpoint variation was really cool. They basically run the same round, except the difference is Vessel takes first contact. Patrick's then distracted. Heavy God Surreal come through the same smoke, and the outcome, well, it's much more different than before. Patrick gets caught completely off guard. The adjustment for Surreal to stare at the barrels, it just all slots into place.
yeah, that's a good point, right? They were able to play a little bit back and forth. Thought the short control that they had in this round last time they weren't afforded it. They didn't take it. This time they take short through connector with a little bit of fancy utility thrown from Fesser and his teammate in the back lines there. So really strong stuff coming through from Endpoint. They're just throwing a variation on that B side. They caught him a little bit lacking in the last round. So they're like, why don't we just try that same attempt again?
Yeah, good stuff. Last round of play here in the first half. By still with 500. And Rainwaker taking a lot of space out towards playground. This is an incredibly quick flank. If Endpoint hit over towards short, that means that his position could be useful later on. But the fact that Nicky's already found Max, Vessor is revealing himself over towards toilet. That's now where Rainwaker can activate. Maybe try and catch out Vessor.
We've got a long position secured. Oh, great flash set up there to extend. And this might be capped off with a bit of a stronger closing factor here. Rainwaker going to give one back. He had a really unfortunate half. 10 and 2. Or sorry, 2 and 10. Wouldn't have been bad if he was ending things off 10 and 2. But what's been tough for him, I feel like he's kind of been left in a lot of retake situations. The A site was a bit of a target earlier on, but you could see like Heavy God doing a lot of those B entries. Sometimes Rain would get caught in connector there, and you know that's tough. But he's been playing a bit of rotate strike,
Yeah.
and that's never a fun game to play.
I like that. Rotate strike. Everyone's
It's-
least favorite minigame in CS.
Yeah, never say it in your pugs, guys. You'll only make your teammates mad.
Is that from experience?
Yeah.
Heavy God
Heavy
with
God.
1. Yeah. Can he get chips? No.
Oof.
10-5. And yeah, you're reading that the right way round. Endpoint with 10 on the T side. We're going to throw it to a break when we come back. Endpoint going to close the series. Nearly there. For Endpoint, 500 would need a emphatic T side. We're actually not straight back into things. No, we got a little bit of a technical, which means we've got a few moments to kind of chat about what's going on and how 500 have ended up here and what they now need to do to not only just stop the momentum of Endpoint, but work their way back into the game. And that seems like a lot to try and achieve, but you need to do it literally on a round by round basis. At least they can take a little bit of solace in the fact that they did actually win the first pistol round of Overpass.
Here's some of the runs that 500 won in that last half, though. Here's a really scary stat. They had the pistol. It was a strong pistol. Of course, they didn't get the 3-round start that they'd hoped for off of the back of that. Maybe if they could have, we could have been talking about a much more stable half. but they won the pistol. They also won Patrick with a 1v3, right? Those are 2 out of the 5 rounds that were converted there. And that's not the prettiest. The 3 other rounds, though, were very strong, right? Those were some, confidence rounds. The one that they closed off the half with was very strong. They had a couple of good defensive rounds as well, where they kept a lot alive and it looked like they could replicate. But all that considering, it is a bit of a bleak outlook here, and they're going to need this, catalyst, a potential start, a strong one to get their heads back in this game. Because, like we had said, there's a lot of different elements here, and Heavy God wasn't really one that I was talking about too much heading into this decider, but he has shown up in the first half. He's put a lot of weight off of the shoulders of MHL. He's made his job a little bit easier on that T side with all the entries. And now MHL's hopping into the, his favorite side, the CT half, where they're just going to walk right into your angles. He can hop on the A side there pretty comfortably. We know he's capable of it. We'll take a look at those 1x bet odds. They have shifted quite a bit since the turn of the first map when Ancient was won by 500. They have turned very much so in Endpoint's favor.
Yeah, I mean, they've set themselves a perfect foundation for success. I'd even argue that if Endpoint win the pistol, they pretty much just close out the map. That's how scary they're looking right now. or MHL just on a swivel, trying to deal with these players. Utility Rain's in B. Guess what? There's 4 players for Endpoint here. Rainwaker nearly through the smoke, but Fessor just deals with both.
That's gonna strike fear into your exec for sure. And MHL finishes it off with the last 2. Fessor, dude, you can see it from the enemy's POV, but like his slight crosshair movements as they dive past the smoke, it was like a robot right there, just instantly dispatching of some beautiful headshots. That is absolutely beautiful from him. Fessor did not give them an chance to get past that smoke. As soon as they were out of it, their screen's still gray, but this time 500, they went for a lot of the forced by antics on their tease out of Mirage. They're not going for that right now, and I wonder if that's a testament to a slight lack in confidence here for them after some tough rounds.
Boss B. Surreal. Oh, gets caught off.
What?
How are you not ready for that? Well, I just guess it doesn't really matter. Mighty Max, Heavy God, split the difference between them, and I didn't look like it was on his head. Just gonna be real, but he does get it anyway. Wow, Surreal got really caught off guard there.
Yeah, it's like wasn't really fully anticipating the B rush right there, but there's always a chance. You never know what lies around the corner right there. Just like, no way they rush B is what he was saying.
Yeah.
Warm welcome. A nice surprise for him right at the other end of Monster, but nonetheless, they don't get punished for it. Like you said, it's not a big deal. They're able to move past it. Here's a big bonus, though. So we'll see what they got in store for us here. I imagine some sense of aggression. Here's the kind of gimmick that they're going for. It's a 4-man stacked towards A. A lot of aggression all around the map, but a lot of emphasis put towards A in the early round here, and just trusting that Mighty Max can do his best to buy time with only an MP9.
Yeah, that is a lot of responsibility for Max. And he might have to try and deal with it. Because 500 are thinking about maybe posturing towards B. The bomb's made its way over. Flashbang through. Should be the indication for Endpoint. And Max is now just have to slide out of the bomb site in towards short. He can fairly safely because Connector is kind of under wraps by Surreal. But now all the information's here. And 500 have got complete control of the site.
They got a couple of entries here. A huge gamble. Didn't quite pay off. And the 2 best weapons will be saved at the very least here. Grabbing some extra utility there's Heavy God before he bails out. Min-maxing the save in this round. And for a round like that, I kind of appreciate that Endpoint take the risk. They had like 3 MP9s brought into that one, so they didn't have a whole lot to bring to the table, and doesn't end up working for them in the end, but at least they're able to save 2 of the better weapons here. Surreal, though, it's not certain that he'll save. Certainly not. Ships perfect on the headshot right there. And now Heavy God's put on notice as well. Shot him through the lamp there a couple of times. I thought Ships could have had him, had a chance, but not capitalized on. 6 on the board here for 500. And that's the start that they needed here.
Yeah, fair play to 500 because they've been going B, Endpoint. You're right. They make the read. They go, okay, well, you guys have been prioritizing B a lot, and we shut you down now twice. On our bonus, let's have the majority of our players maybe up towards A, see if we can catch you off guard. 500. B, they try it. They knock on the door once more, and it works out perfectly. Really nice read. And despite MP9's being brought into the last round. Again, Mighty Max is wielding one of his own into the round number 19. Surreal's only got a 5-7.
Again, they're just not giving anything for Mighty Max here. I don't know what it is. But Endpoint, sometimes they just leave these bomb sites high and dry. Did it on Ancient. They're starting to do it on this Decider. And now Mighty Max, he has to call in for help. Surely he tosses in an HE. That doesn't do too much in terms of deterrence. They're going to run right on in. And they're just going to meet an MP9. That's all. No Heaven Smoke tossed in. Not necessary because the rotations are that far removed. And 500, taking space, taking names. And I think they're already calling this one to save.
Well, yeah, it has to be. I understand in the last round it's a little bit of a gambit. This one is very much the same, and it is. I don't know. I'm unsure of what the decision making is for Endpoint here. It just feels like they're overcomplicating things by not playing defaults.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, if you are going to have this sort of A presence here, I would like them to just push at the start of the round with it.
Yep.
4 players towards A, you know, versus like a single A defaulter. They can easily give you a 4v5 or 4v4, something like that, but it can also give you a lot of map control, right? So if you're going to gamble these sort of resources, do it at the start of the round, take that space, and then, you know, then you start to spread your resources out. But it looks like they started the round off kind of defaulty, you know, 3-2 setup, stock standard. And then they were like, let's gamble now here in the mid round. Even when they were like spamming down, they had no short control or anything like that. So it's interesting. This might cost a little bit here for Endpoint. They're trying to line up a boost, a run boost here. There it is, tossing MHL past the crosshairs.
I like that.
It's good fun.
Late. Yeah. A little bit of spice. Denny taking control out long, which is... It's interesting to see. Now 500, they're playing it a lot more defaulty. Swing out for Max. He's only got a USP. So, I mean, honestly, good luck against Denny. I don't know how he's alive and he's just out of there. But it's information at the very least.
He's booking it. That's a really good escape there. I'd much rather have him alive than just die to that long control here and not be able to watch it. Now he's able to watch it from a more passive angle, so high value out of Mighty Max just living in that position. And I do wonder if he spotted out anything or if he saw Rainwaker. That was a cue up to rotate off Rainwaker. Rather, Denny's Law took that initial fight. So he's going to continue his good performance here. This time, Mighty Max.
Oh, no.
It's always the same player who's left on an island. It's just a different bomb site this time.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Can they get past the USP?
Oh,
nearly
wow.
not. I was saying that for fun, but Rainwaker nearly loses his life. 4 versus 3. But again, if you're Endpoint, there's no point going for it. There's no commitment needed. You save your rifles, you bring them forward. I don't know how Mighty Max keeps doing it. I think you just send your entire team behind Mighty Max because he feels like a magnet for 500.
Yes. Yeah. At this point, I'm starting to get convinced that 500 can pull this one back. I think Endpoint are playing this one, with their lead a little bit too gimmicky. You know what I mean? It's like they're always saving. They're always in a position where they have to save, right? But the way this half is kicked off, it's like now they can start to bring some advantages in here very soon. The economy's never really that good. They're not getting those ops out for MHL. Still, that's going to be the case here this deep into the half, and this is a big way that you can come back into a map here just like this. I mean, just what 500 are doing. Round after round, you try and identify the weaknesses. You're playing a bit of mind games right now with Mighty Max as well in terms of like where they're stacking their resources, and they're out-reading this defense perfectly. There's no question about that. Walking into the lesser bomb sites every single round now. I guess outside of the pistol and the following.
Is it even an outread, or is it just an overcommitment from Endpoint? Go, great flash. Max. Oh, this time. Doesn't even get a chance on the server. Neither does Surreal. Patrick finds both. What a disaster.
At least we're getting some aggression out of Endpoint. It doesn't get punished, but at least it's some sort of aggression. They're not playing like gambled site stacks at the start of the round. That's what I want to see. But their confidence has just been destroyed in it. So now my question is, are they going to go back to the, like just kind of defaulty, site stack gambly CS that can be so costly? Will they have a bit of aggression here? Heavy God is still posted up, and Heavy God's been playing a hell of a game. He needs a whole lot more than one, though. He tries to find follow-ups and can't contain it in time. But what he has bought is some valuable time for MHL to tuck himself in and isolate these duels. Smokes and mollies are going to be behind him here as he sets his sights towards Pit. He's covered by one, but the quick adjustment landed. He's burning the molly down to 9 HP here, but the pistol's out from Dennis Law, and the Glock will seal it. It's 9 now on the board here. 500 have cracked the code.
Yeah, nice try again, but the spray very shaky from MHL. Nerves starting to kick in. Endpoint money now not there. But we'll still invest anyway. M4 on Fessor. AWP on MHL. Nothing on Heavy God. I think you give him a rifle, to be honest. But I understand Fessor's need and desire to have one. They still managed to buy up to around about $2,000 a player. It's only MHL that goes a little bit wanting in that department. But if Endpoint win the round, then that'd be fantastic for them.
Working with some pots and pans here and there. But this could be a catalyst, like you said here, even lacking purchase. Here's the early fight. Oh, Fessor, he lands a beautiful headshot there. The AK reigns supreme there. Ships dispatches of one of the hero rifles. The other is on MHL. The hero AWP. I said, the first time in the half here, his first opportunity. Oh, bested by ships there. My God. 500 taking control right now, big time. They are striking some serious fear into the hearts here of these Endpoint players.
Push out monster. I mean, sure, but Denny's here. No trade. 20 seconds. That is, well, maybe a slight issue for 500 because Max, could have potentially ended the round. Heavy God still can. Rainwaker still incredibly low. 1 versus 3. Bomb needs to go down. Rainwaker. Almost lucky to be alive. Now Nate goes in. Remember, it's a 1 versus 3. You have got ships on the very late lurk from A.
Nice shot right there on the Dennis Law. Spamming out the Deagle. It's one more extra kill, but that's not a big deal. They pick up the op. They're bringing it into the next round. Rainwaker building some confidence here, and the distance closes to 2. Another timeout called as well from Endpoint as they're feeling some serious looming pressure ahead of them. They were feeling confident heading into the turn of the half. They win the pistol, they follow it up, but 500 with the rifles, man, they've been taking advantage of their opportunities here. And Endpoint, again with an investment here. Again with an MHL and an op. But his job was made easier. Heavy God was doing everything in that first half. Fester was doing so much work right there. He needs to come through in this second half and, decide the game. I think he's going to be the X factor. He needs to level up. Because he's still been a bit quiet here with the AWP. First round, he didn't get anything with it last time around. Ships just dispatched of him. This time around, when his teammates have rifles to stand alongside him, I think he's going to be the key factor. He needs to start taking some space, taking some priority here and the team. Because this aggression hasn't been panning out. A big way to aggress is with that op on the CT side.
I just want to see a default from Endpoint. This looks like the most normal CT setup I've seen in a while from them. Heavy God. Does spot out a player. In towards short. Patrick. Trying to establish control. And I like this. Max isn't burned by the Molotov at barrels. This could be misinformation for 500. Creeping their way through. Nicky. Oh, he's just here. He's just creeping. I don't actually think he's been spotted by anyone. No, he hasn't. But pulls the trigger a little bit early. Still, Max will fall. Heavy God there to trade. There's another player in towards water. Surreal, not yet noticed.
Got a couple kills to fill the feed, though, and Surreal still holds the line. It's just Dennis Law. His back against the wall. He takes care of Heavy God. Wait a second. A chance to isolate, but no. Surreal comes through with the heroics. A 3K in defense. Heavy God with 2 extras. And finally, a gun round in the second half. It goes in favor of Endpoint after long last. They finally find it. It's been a trialing 5 rounds in a row for 500, but they finally get stopped. And will this lose the momentum?
That's wild. You play 3 players towards B, 2 players towards A, and it works. That was really well played, though. Hello, what's this? I feel like you can do that with some other lineups, so that's still cool nevertheless from Surreal. Yeah, I was happy with that from Endpoint. It looks a bit scary, especially when Nicky was just making his way out without being noticed. And Max gets caught off guard immediately. If he falls when he's in transition, that actually gets a lot worse because 500 then only have to do with 1 player rather than trying to actually just figure out where 2 are.
Yeah, no doubt. And well, good news is, I think right there, that's a lot of confidence put in some of your individuals. 500, or rather, Endpoint, they played a standard setup. They didn't need any gimmicks, and they defended the bomb site with their B players, right? it's
exactly
so promising. Heavy God with 2 kills, Surreal with 3, and it's just like, yeah, we had the resources there. We had some help. We didn't need any trickery. We didn't need any aggression. Just got the job done on some crossfires, and it's a huge boast of confidence here for them as well. It's the opening advantage here. This time, I said, MHL, hoping that he could get a little bit more aggressive with the op in particular, and he does so. He's able to open up proceedings, but now Long is a bit of a liability. It's forcing Fester forward, but he's falling in with 2 kills. MHL steps up with an extra, and again, they have the resources. They have a more standard setup. They bring in a 3rd rotator. Fester's playing forward past the utility, and the crossfires, they get the job done. This is just stability from Endpoint, in which you didn't see in that string of rounds, but finally we're getting a little bit late in the game.
That's really good communication as well between MHL and Vessel. MHL gets smoked off, takes the shot, and he's like, okay, they can be in. Vessel needs to extend further. He can't just be hiding close in the corner because he's not safe. So instead, goes looking and deals with 1 arm of that attack. That was fantastic. The fact he gets a multi-kill there. 500, they've now lost consecutive rounds in a row, and the money isn't really in the best state of affairs. You have got an AK out, which actually gets thrown over. Denny can buy an AWP. Patrick could get an AK, but it's limited utility. It looks like they will be going for the investment.
Going for broke here at this point. All in for 500. We talked about nightmare scenarios in that first map. You remember the position that 500 put Endpoint in, where they were at like 1400, 1800, and
Yeah.
the map point position. That could be the same fate here. Realistically, for 500, they get a little bit more loss bonus, and you see ships with a little bit of extra stacks, but not much behind that. So they do need this round for the most part. Can't really afford to lose it.
Time in here. Vessel versus pretty much all of 500 out Connector. And of course, he wins out against Nikki. And ships walk straight into MHL. The bait and switch works perfectly. And Vessor might even be allowed to escape, and he does just round the corner in time.
That's so much spotted as well. Denny's Law. That's a nice shot right there, but Fesser was down low. He just dinked and put on notice, so he's going to gather even further information. Meanwhile, interestingly enough, yeah, MHL is stuck around him from bathroom, so that's an easy pick for Patrick. We put things back into even stead. And the flashbang perfect on a surreal. Heavy God holding a pixel angle. Doesn't capitalize, though. He will take care of business thereafter. 2 kills come through from Heavy God. A perfect player to close, but he needs 30 to get there. One more frag. Denny's Law standing behind the pillar. He finds the first. Able to isolate a chance onto the second. The HE from Mighty Mex is going to sink it. It's more damage, but not the kill confirmed. He will step out for the finishing frag. And 15's found. The all-important round here. It's going to go in favor of Endpoint. They're on series point.
How close can he be, though? Nice try from Denny. And Heavy God, I don't know how on earth. He originally fumbles the spray to begin with, and then he finds 2, and he just holds it for that much longer. And 500 have to go round the corner. Series point. Endpoint could be knocking out 500 here. And we said the expectation that the roster has for Endpoint is to build and develop, and for 500 to try and make deep runs. Falling in the round of 16 is not a deep run. Overwhelming at B, but Vessor and Heavy God are here. And that's it. Endpoint, they will do it. 16-10, eliminate 500.
That's incredible right there. Endpoint coming through. Some question marks around them, but he knew the stability was there for sure for 500. But that's a great result right there. They now look to continue that forward here. Endpoint being able to pull this one through, continuing their overpass dominance as well. There was a little bit of worries that they might need to clean up there, but they gave themselves such a depth in that T side that all of those worries were nullified. I mean, if you imagine that if we didn't see like the 5-10 scoreline for Endpoint, maybe this would have gone 500's way, considering the string of rounds that they were able to find early on. But the fact that they gave themselves such an incredible T side, it gave them chances to adjust their defense, it gave them chances to figure things out, and that was everything right there. That was a really good closer from Endpoint.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you're right. It's the fact that they were able to get 10 gives them that much of a buffer to kind of adjust to the mistakes. And we were kind of saying, oh, maybe 6, 7 would be okay. Turns out it wasn't. They actually needed those extra rounds to ensure success and survival. Endpoint will press on, and that means we have to say goodbye to 500. We've got one more best of 3 for you tonight. It's Apex taking on the Eyeballers. That one's going to come up just after a little bit more of an extended break.